This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Game on, dude. Martin Garcia and Bob Baffert romp in the Pacific Classic. Doulahan, absolutely perfectly ridden by Joel Rosario. Doulahan up to beat Game on, dude. Beholder and Gary Stevens didn't win it. They romped in the Pacific Classic. One of the greatest performances you'll ever see. California Chrome in a canter. California Chrome, unbelievable. Flight line, 20 lengths clear. Flavion Pratt takes a hold and canters in the TVG Pacific Classic.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
And Royal Delta goes on to win the Alabama.
Malathot back in the win column as she takes the Alabama.
But today's the day for randomized. It's her coming out party in the Alabama.
It is Songbird, this magnificent filly, winning the Alabama.
Now here's Mike Penna and Angela Herman.
Good morning once again, everyone. Welcome to the show that launched a network. It is the Equine Forum. It is all presented by TwinSpires and all right here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. We say hello to all of you joining us throughout North America on Sirius 162, XM 207, along with our terrestrial partners, and streaming live right now worldwide on our website, horseracingradio.net. And if you miss any of today's show, don't fret. You can check out the podcast. It's available after we finish up at 11 a.m. Eastern on our website or your favorite podcast platform. Angela Herman, Countess of Canterbury, good morning.
I was about to fret, but I am all good now. Good morning to you, Mike, and thank you for that lovely welcome into the show. Let's go. It's Pacific Classic Day.
It is 11 horses set to go. Knightsbridge is the 5-2 morning line favorite from the barn of Bill Mott. He's going to have to overcome the outside post, and he's going to have to answer a really big question. Can he get the mile and a quarter?
And can he get it with the circumstances presented to him? Because it doesn't appear like everybody was scared off by the presence of Knightsbridge, no matter how good he is, no matter how gaudy that figure was, and it was quite gaudy from his last race. They are taking a shot against him in big numbers, and there's some pace for him too. So we'll break it all down and talk about the Pacific Classic and Knightsbridge today.
Yeah, we will. And there's a lot of different storylines surrounding the Pacific Classic. One of my favorites involves Aggie Ordonez, who is going to be with us later in the show. She is the trainer of Almond Joy, who, on the opposite end of the spectrum, we talk about Knightsbridge breaking from post 11. Almond Joy, the filly, has to break from the inside post. So she has her work cut out for her. She's really good. This is a tall order, but we'll talk to Aggie coming up later on.
Well, with her running style, you'd think that the rail probably wouldn't present as much of a problem as it was for a horse who was trying to clear the field. But Almond Joy is taking a big shot. It's not the first time that she's done it. Aggie likes to take a shot with some of her runners. Almond Joy is one of her best. I'm glad she's taken a shot in this particular group.
Almond Joy, the first filly or mare to run in the Pacific Classic since Beholder back in 2016. That was the year after Beholder won the race in 2015. She did not win it in 16. And Ordonez, if she can pull this off, would be the first female trainer to win the race. And this is, if you're ever going to become the first female trainer to win a race, especially a race like the Pacific Classic, this is the year you need to take your shot, right?
I'd say so in this group. Well, and especially if you could have drawn up Knightsbridge being drawn in the 11 hole, I think that a lot of people probably have confidence in their horses taking this step into grade one company in this particular group, just because it looks like that kind of race. So Almond Joy not without a shot. And if the pace gets as hot as it looks like it might get on paper, she could be in good shape.
And she could be in very good shape. And you think about the success of lady trainers in the game this year. Lindsay Schultz, most recently, right, winning in winning the Haskell, and then you had last weekend Luster for Josie Carroll taking the King's Plate, beating the boys. So maybe this is a good omen here. And let's not forget about Cherie DeVoe and what she's done this year.
Exactly. We ladies have made our presence felt really from the beginning of the year. I guess I can't throw myself into that ring, but you've seen a lot of female presence in that winner's circle in beating the boys, whether it be on the human side of things or the equine side of things. And again, Almond Joy not without a shot. And it's nice to see the female angle come from both the horse and her trainer in taking a shot against the boys.
See, I beg to differ. I think you've made your presence felt every Saturday morning. I feel it.
Well, you definitely feel it, but not everybody has to feel the full wrath. They get to change the channel if they'd like. You're not going anywhere for the next 3 hours.
Well, we hope you don't change the channel, and we hope you participate in our poll question this morning, because I think it's a different type of poll question. I wanted to throw this out there because I could have said, who's your pick to win the Pacific Classic? And Angela, if we throw that kind of question out there, yeah, it always gets a lot of response. But to me, this one's a little more interesting. The most impressive Pacific Classic performance of all time. And we're going to give you a few choices here, and then we'll let you comment on your choice if you don't like the ones that we've given you. Flightline winning by 19 lengths. I think it was 19 and a quarter officially. Beholder winning by just over 8 lengths. Candy Ride with the record time of 1:59.11, or other. And if you choose other, comment and let us know which performance you feel is the most impressive Pacific Classic performance of all time.
Definitely join in and email Mike if you need to, but take your vote in that poll, because I think this is an interesting one too. If you had gone about it with just taking the field and saying, who do you like? The poll couldn't be long enough with options. You get a ton of flight lines. You probably get a ton of others.
Yeah.
And whoever else would be in the middle, there's just too many possibilities for that. So I definitely like this question, because there will be some differing opinions on this, because for how relatively young the race is in the scope of graded stakes in the country, there have been some dynamite performances year in and year out from this race.
Yeah, first run, 1991? Is that the year Best Pal? Yeah, 1991, the year that Best Pal won it. So, yeah, you're right. A relatively newcomer on the greatest stakes landscape, if you will, when you compare it to races like the Derby and the Travers and the Haskell and other iconic races in the sport. But there have been some incredible horses to come through this race and some unbelievable performances. And now we want to hear from you and which one you feel is the most impressive performance of all time in the Pacific Classic. You can go to @HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or you can email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net, to let us know your thoughts on that particular question. 3 horses have won the race twice. We don't have that opportunity this year because we don't have a former winner in the race. Tinner's Way, Skimming, Richard's Kid, all winners of the race 3 times. So tons of history. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about that as we go throughout the show. If you had to cast your vote right now, Angela, on our poll question, which way are you going?
It's kind of a toss-up. Flightline was impressive, but Flightline did that an awful lot, and he scared away some of his competition in the process of getting them to face him. I would have to give it to Beholder. She's the only filly to have won this race. She tried it again the next year, but she just ran into California Chrome, who was in some of the best form of his life. I think that she was the daughter of the West Coast. Everybody loved Beholder, and for her to beat the boys the way that she did in that Pacific Classic sticks in your mind just as much as Flightline, but for some different reasons. So I'd probably lean towards her.
I agree. I'm going to take Beholder, but for a little bit of a different reason. When Flightline won and dominated by the 19 and a quarter length margin, he was beating 5 other rivals. It was a 6-horse field. I think that the field Beholder handled, and again, being a girl beating the boys, the field that she handled was much deeper and much classier, in my opinion. She had to beat 9 rivals. It was a 10-horse field. One of the horses she beat that day, who was second choice in the race, was a horse named Bauer. And you probably heard of him because the year before he won the Breeders' Cup Classic. So she had to beat a Classic winner. Opportunity was in that race. Hard Aces was in that race. And on their day, those were a couple of horses that could really show up with some big efforts.
I was actually at the Breeders' Cup that Byron won the year before, and he was one of those horses that could put in a race that could defeat anybody on earth if he got the right pace and got comfortable up front. He was no joke when he got on the front end. That's no joke of a field, and Beholder handled them quite well, but that was usually the case with her. Whether you got into a real close fight with her down the stretch or whether you had to face off with her early, she had multiple ways to beat you.
I'm sure Candy Ride might get a little respect too. although it's kind of like, what have you done for me lately, right? Candy Ride's victory in the race was a little while ago, so people might not remember that. But the horse who ran a hole in the wind, if you will, in winning the Pacific Classic with that record time. And it's a time that still stands as the record even today.
Well, a lot of his races leave you with different impressions for different reasons, but all of them are very impressive. And I think that Flightline is one of those horses that we watch his progeny, and maybe the expectations are a bit high on them just because of what he laid down through the course of his career. But if you see that sort of potential with him, of course you're going to see that sort of potential with his babies, and maybe we'll see one of them soon in the Pacific Classic.
Yeah, and by the way, when we want to talk about field sizes, as I did with Beholder and Flightline, comparing that, the field size when Candy Ride won the race back in 2003 was just 4. But you look at the 3 horses that finished behind Candy Ride, you had Medaglia d'Oro, Fleet Street Dancer, and Milwaukee Brew. Those are 3 quality racehorses.
My goodness, yeah, they definitely could have been the favorites in this race any other given year. But Candy Ride was one of those horses that I think you put him in the same mold too, because he came up from South America and he came up for McAnally. And, you know, all of those horses that he took the time to pick out from South of America, you had a set of expectations for, but he more than met those. And he's continued that dominance in the breeding shed.
All right, we're going to tell you more about the guest lineup here today and some of the things, some of the features we're going to bring your way, some of the unique elements to this show, because it's a little bit different than our normal structure, if you will, in certain spots. So I'll tell you more about that in just a minute. But first, it's time to check in with Lee Delapina for this week's Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question. Lee?
Thank you, Mike and Angela. This week's Impossible Trivia question is brought to you by Mojo Racing Partners. Get your mojo working at MojoRacingPartners.com. Who was the only gray or roan-colored horse to ever win the Pacific Classic? No Googling. We'll give out the answer at the end of the show.
Yeah, the answer comes your way, 10:55 Eastern. Get your mojo working. Try to come up with the answer to that one here on this Saturday morning. Okay, so I mentioned we're going to do things a little differently. Mostly in the first hour, Angela, we thought it would be fun to look back on a special running of the Pacific Classic. This is the 30-year anniversary of Darren Go ending Cigar's incredible win streak when Cigar went westward and was beaten by Darren Go in the Pacific Classic that year. So we're going to look back on that day when we return. We're also going to look back on some of the victories in the Alabama being renewed at Saratoga today. We'll look back on some of the victories by Hall of Famer Shug McGaughey. He's won the race 4 times. And no, that is not the record number of victories in the race. We'll tell you about that when we come back. But Shug has won it 4 times. And I had the opportunity yesterday to spend some time with Shug reminiscing, going down memory lane, talking about each of those 4 Alabama wins on my Trainer Talk show. And my goodness, I could listen to Shug McGaughey read the phone book.
Well, he's been in the game for that long with some of the best bloodstock out there, and you don't always get to get the inside track on them because they're homebreds. They don't go public. You don't get to see them out off the farm too often. So he knows them better than anybody, and he's been around some of the best horses especially some of the best females of their generation. So love to hear from him.
All right, that's coming up in our next segment. You're going to hear from trainer Phil Bauer, 9 o'clock Eastern to begin hour 2. He has Tam Tam going in the Del Mar Oaks later today. And Aggie Ordonez, as we mentioned, at 9:20. At 9:40, Steve Andersen at the Daily Racing Forum. He does a great job covering racing in Southern California. He will be here to tell you more about some of the storylines and some of the races you'll see at Del Mar this afternoon. The TwinSpires Triple Play kicks off hour 3, 10 Eastern. James Scully gives you 3 races to watch and wager on with TwinSpires this afternoon. Kurt Becker has a look back and a stroll through racing history at the 1996 Pacific Classic, a race we will also talk about, but Kurt will do that for you as well, coming up at 10:20. And at 10:30, I ask, they answer with Dale Romans, with Tim Wilkin. So plenty of things to get to. Angela and I are back right after this on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Will you accept the Breeders' Cup Challenge? The chance to compete against the best in the world? The chance to race for a piece of over $34 million in purses and awards? The chance to prove you belong on racing's biggest stage? The chance to become a champion? Winning a Breeders' Cup Challenge Series race gives you that opportunity with an invitation to horse racing's biggest event of the year, the Breeders' Cup World Championships at Keeneland, where finish lines become the start of a legacy and starting gates shine on the world stage. Win a Breeders' Cup Challenge Series race and earn a guaranteed starting position in a Breeders' Cup race. Entry fees paid, a $10,000 nominator award, travel incentives, and more. Here, winning a Challenge Series race is just the beginning. See the full schedule of races around the globe and learn more at breederscup.com/challenge.
Join us at Kentucky Downs August 29th through September 9th, showcasing 7 days of racing with $37 million in purses, including $17.9 million in KTDF purses for Kentucky breds and the $3 million Nashville Derby on Saturday, September 5th. America's richest and only all-turf meet, hosting 2 Breeders' Cup Win and You're In races. Reserved seats on sale at themintkenctuckydowns.com. There's unique, and there's Kentucky Downs.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Not much change in the running order since the gate opened. National Treasure carving out all the fractions, still well within himself at the top of the stretch, and he turns for home with a 2-length lead. Subsonador comes out to chase him home, and in the center of the track, Newgate is bearing down in third. Here comes Newgate with big strides after National Treasure. National Treasure, Subsonador, and Newgate. 3 of them line up in an absolute thriller. Subsonador in between horses. Here's the line. Subsonador and Mike Smith to win the California Crown Stakes, presented by Sir Davis American Whiskey, in a blanket photo with National Treasure and Newgate. A race that lived up to the hype indeed.
Frank Miramati bringing them home in the California Crown, a Grade 1. That was back on September 28th of 2024, the last time that Subsonador found his way to the winner's circle for Hall of Fame trainer Richard Mandella and Hall of Fame jockey Mike Smith. They are the team associated with Subsonador again today in the Pacific Classic, and we'll see if the 7-year-old can find his way back to the winner's circle. He's 0-3 in 2026 so far. A 4th place finish in the Grade 3 San Carlos. Then he was 4th in the Lista Stake. Then he came back and was 5th last time out in the Gold Cup, beating 37 lengths. So, Angela, he has his work cut out for him.
To his credit, he has had just the 3 starts this year, and he took all of 2025 off, like you outlined. But
they weren't good, though.
No, the Subsonador that left us in 2025 is not the same one that came back in 2026, and there will be some pace for him, so I give him that. But I also kind of question the 1.25 miles with him, because we've seen him in his previous days, the 1.16 miles, the 1.125 miles, no problem. But you have to dig back a little further to the Santa Anita Handicap to find where the 1.25 miles was really in his wheelhouse, and he was showing speed at that point. So we just have a whole different Subsonador than the one that we saw back then, and I'm not sure that this version is up to the task of taking on some of the best in this field all the way on the front. So he'll have to find a new version of himself that can really finish the job from behind, but he'll be a good price in doing so.
Look at what Mandella is doing with Subsonador. He's taking a completely, I'll call it unorthodox training approach to get him ready for this one. And the reason I say that is because he's taking a really old school approach. He worked Subsonador between races a couple of weeks ago, and you don't see that very often anymore. Then on Wednesday, just 3 days before this race, he gave Subsonador a 3-furlong blowout, which is another thing you don't see trainers do very often. So maybe he's saying, okay, this is not the Subsonador we came to know when he was winning that Grade 1. I got to get him back on track. Maybe this is his way of trying to wake him up a little bit.
It could be, but I've always known Subsonador to be a pretty decent at worst workhorse. So I guess if you were going to think that he was turning the corner in the morning, I would have to look further back, and I still see some good works all along the way. This is a good workhorse and a horse that likes Del Mar. So I would have to take more than 12-1 if I'm going to think that he's going to reverse things. But I do see that they are trying to get his attention. You know, he's a 7-year-old horse. Maybe he's just not as focused on the task at hand, but works like that will get his mind back on running. So maybe we'll see a big improve.
Mandela is a 4-time winner of the Pacific Classic. One of those came 30 years ago when Dare & Go ended that incredible win streak of Cigar, and Cigar, trained by Bill Mott. The two Hall of Famers spent some time looking back on that memorable day.
It was most fun because I wasn't expected to win, so it's always a little bit more exciting when you surprise yourself. But Dare & Go was a very good horse. He just wasn't very good every time, and it wasn't physical. It was a mental thing with him. He was smarter than most of us that worked around him, and he just sensed everything that happened. And sometimes he'd just be a little over the top, or it was just hard to gauge him the same every time you ran him. But going into that race, he was flawless. Everything was perfect. He'd been a front runner, but I had Siphon in there, and if you went with Siphon, you paid the toll. And I had said at the draw breakfast, I said I'm going to take Dare & Go back because nobody should go with Siphon, and it worked out as you saw. It worked out very well.
Cigars in front. Dare & Go with a white cap is now looming in danger. Dare & Go's going to look for the upset. Cigar takes the lead. Dare & Go's got dead aim on him. Cigar's got to dig deep. He's had to run very fast early, and he can find. And Dare & Go has gone right on by Cigar. A 16th of a mile to go. And you can never underestimate a classy horse. And this is one classy guy on his day. Dare & Go and Alex Solis win the Pacific Classic. Cigar ran his heart out, but has to settle for second.
He gave me a real California schooling on that day. You know what I mean? He said, welcome to Del Mar, welcome to California. If there's anything you need while you're here, you know what I mean? Come on over. We're stabled right next door.
I told you that the other day.
Yeah. He always welcomes me out here, but he sure doesn't mind taking any pride in kicking your butt once you get here.
Is that true?
Oh yeah. No, you beat Bill Mott, you've really done something. I'll say that. I've always thought that.
On the two square off again today. Subsanador, Knights Bridge, the two horses trained by Richard Mandela and Bill Mott, respectively. So the rivalry renewed a little bit here today.
Very respectful rivalry, as you can hear between the two of them. A lot of deep felt respect and obviously a deep bond between those two. And knowing the fact that they had challenges in front of them, one being keeping a win streak going and one trying to upset the best horse in the country, and knowing the volume of the situation and being able to recall it so eloquently. They're the storytellers of the big moments like this, and they were there for the whole thing and really got the whole scope of it. So it's enjoyable that we get to hear them recall it in a playful sense, not in a I'm still angry about that sense, but knowing how big a moment it was in both of their careers and how well it's gone since then and how they've been able to keep it a respectful rivalry between the two of them.
Yeah, they're very close friends, and they did talk about that. We'll have that clip here in just a second. But I remember in that conversation with the two of them, I asked Mandela if he ever was sorry that he ended up playing the spoiler that day. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, somebody asked me that once, and I said I felt terrible for about 20 seconds. He was a great horse, and he had a great record, but I liked winning that Pacific Classic more than that record.
I'm sure he did. We've heard that from other trainers too. Trainers that spoil a Triple Crown throughout history, right? They'll feel bad because they're such big fans of the sport and they want to see it happen, but they have a horse in there for a reason. They're trying to win that third leg of the Triple Crown, regardless if there's a Triple Crown on the line or not. And, sometimes it comes at the expense of racing fans and of the industry, but you feel bad initially, maybe for a few seconds, and then as Mandela said, about 20 seconds, and he got over it.
Well, we're all in this to compete with each other, right? And keep it hopefully friendly competition.
Yeah.
But I mean, Belmont knew what he was doing when he sent his horse out there. Mandela knew the task when he sent him there. And that's what they're trying to do. They're both trying to win this big, prestigious race. And Richard Mandela just had, I guess, maybe a little bit better hand that day, a little bit more luck. And Cigar just wasn't able to overcome Darren Go. But you knew at some point he was going to face a true challenge. And it just happened to come that day.
What made that race and that moment even more special is their close friendship and that close relationship that the two of them have.
It's nice to hear, and it's nice to be able to watch it. Kind of like when we compete against our friends. If you're betting, if one of you beats the other, it's going to happen inevitably at some point. But if you can keep the ultimate goal and the point of putting battles together like this, good races like that, and keeping the best going against the best, you know that that's the best for the sport. And that's what you're trying to do. And you're trying to do it not only for yourself, but for the greater good of those around you too. They get it.
Richard and Bill talked about that relationship with me in that very same conversation. I think this is worth another replay. Here you go.
I met him as a teenager or 20-year-old about Sportsman's Park years ago. About 20 years old.
I was working for Vanberg, and I took care of one of Richard's horses while I was there. I was working for Jack, but Richard shipped a horse in and left him there for two races, and we kind of looked after him while he was there. So we got to know each other quite a while ago.
He gave me a ride to the airport after I got done. I had hair before I got in that car and rode home with him. Rode to the airport.
I can't believe you'd accuse me of that.
I'm glad you brought that up because your son Gary told me to make sure I asked you guys about that particular story. I want to hear if they're telling the truth and what version they give you.
I had to cram him in there. It was a little Datsun 280Z, and it would bounce in and out of the traffic pretty easily.
You said when you beat Bill Mott, you've really done something. What is it about Bill that makes him so good?
He's one of the greatest horsemen of all time. He doesn't just sit and write about it. He can handle them. He can do the whole thing. He's the real deal.
Bill, how about when you look at Richard? I know you guys have squared off so many times, but he's a 9-time Breeders' Cup winner. He won 4 Breeders' Cup races in one day in 2003 as a fellow Hall of Famer. What's it like to watch him?
Well, I think when his name comes up, I think anybody would tell you he's probably one of the most respected guys in the business. And I think he's, always conducted himself very well. And I think people can, if they're associated with him, I think they can always be proud of that and they can look up to him. And, and he does win a race every once in a while. He'll kick your butt every time he gets the chance.
Yeah, all kinds of respect between those two gentlemen, and it's going to be great to see them renew their personal rivalry in the Pacific Classic today. By the way, those excerpts you just heard, those came from a conversation I had with Bill Mott, with Richard Mandela, sitting down together with them in Richard's barn before the 2017 Breeders' Cup at Del Mar. So some wonderful memories, and I thought it was appropriate on this Pacific Classic morning to break those out. There's another race, though, Angela, that we need to talk about. We're going to handicap it when we come back in the next segment, but another race that is taking place today at Saratoga, which is a good one of the oldest stakes races in the country, the Grade 1 Alabama for the fillies. And, wow, there have been some unbelievable fillies to win that race.
The Alabama was actually one of the very first races that I tuned into in national TV because they had it featured on a coast-to-coast series. And the field that year, I think, featured like Manistique and Banshee Breeze. And every year that I've watched the Alabama thereafter, it seemed like those were the horses you had to keep an eye on, especially in their generation. And the Alabama is just a race that continually pops up, whether it be in the distaff this year or on down the line, because when they're gathering at this time of the year, when the weather is going well, when everybody is in full swing of their campaign, you'll see the best shots of a lot of these fillies. And it's a good yardstick for not just their upcoming races immediately, but on further down the road.
Shug McGaughey has his name in the record books of the Alabama somewhat. He's won it 4 times, and you think, okay, great, Shug, you're one of the best to ever do it. You win the race 4 times. You must be at the top of that list. You must be able to say you won the Alabama more than any trainer in history. Nope. Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons. Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons, went a little too quick there. Saddled 8 Alabama winners, spanning from his first in 1924 to his final one in 1959. How about that?
My goodness. And that's the history of this race. You've seen some of the best, not just on the equine side, but on the human side. And relatively compared to the Pacific Classic, you have to go that much further back through history to really see how these fillies measure up. That is an even tougher race to make your mark in, just considering how many greats have gone through the winner's circle in the Alabama. But definitely potential behind the favorite today to put herself on that list.
When Shug joined me on Trainer Talk yesterday afternoon, by the way, that show is out there as a podcast now. I highly recommend taking a listen to that, because when Shug starts telling these stories about any horse that he's trained, it's incredibly entertaining and insightful, and he just gets into it in a way that makes you feel good to be part of this sport. Well, he did that with me yesterday. He looked back on his 4 winners. His first came in 1986 with a horse named Classy Cathy. I want to replay that part of the conversation for you right now.
Well, she started out with Joe Bolero and Ed Cox. That was Ed Cox's man, and Joe Bolero, I ended up getting her from him because he didn't want to travel. And I think the first time I ran her, she was second in the test, second or third in the test. But she wanted to run a distance of ground. She was a closing that day. She wanted to run a distance of ground, and I thought that the prep in there going 7/8 was really a good prep for her, and she came out of it good. And, we were really looking forward to running her in the Alabama, and thought she was going to have a big chance. And, she ran a really good race. Life at the Top was a pretty good filly, and, we were able to run her down and beat her. So, that was kind of young in my training career, and to be able to win the Alabama, obviously was a big thrill.
Yeah. What did that do for your career at that point?
Well, I think it helped. I was training for the Phippses at that time, so, it didn't give me that job, but, they looked over their shoulder and said, well, that's probably a pretty good reference. And, so, it was a thrill to win the race. And, Mr. Cox was a nice guy, and she was a nice filly. And, when we got her in the right spot, she was pretty tough.
You mentioned the sprint race, the test stakes, which at the time in 86 was a grade 2. She finishes second in that race on July 31st. And then the Alabama was just 9 days later on August 9th. A lot of times people will say, hey, Shug McGaughey, Nick Zito, when Wayne Lucas was around, they are old school trainers. You don't see that anymore.
Well, you don't, everybody wants to give them a lot of time in between, and, they're using and relying on the sheets quite a bit to, which they always say, give them time, give them time, give them time. But, as you'll see, that's going to happen again here in a little while. And, I think that, probably the Lasix issue is something that probably makes you give them a little bit more time than maybe you normally would. But, Alabama's this week and the test is next week. I thought it was really, really kind of neat when it was the 4-week meet here, and, you got all this stuff done in a hurry, and, when running in the test, I'd won it in 83, I think, and be able to run back in it and have a filly run that good and then bounce her right back into the Alabama was, that was what the plan was. And, unless she wasn't doing good, that's what we were going to do.
She came back, I guess it was 17 or 18 days after the Alabama win and took the Gazelle.
Yes. But, we did things back then, that way. And, she was a big, strong filly, and she could take it. And, we utilized that, and she was able to come through.
Yeah, boy, did she come through in a big way. Classy Cathy, 40 years ago, Shug's first of 4 Alabama winners. He came back 5 years later with Versailles Treaty, 1991, Heavenly Prize in 1994, and then Pine Island 20 years ago in 2006. Here's what he had to say about Pine Island.
Pine Island was a sort of surprise when she was at Claiborne Farm. She was kind of an ugly duckling, and but she had a heck of a pedigree, and when I was down there looking at him with Mr. Phipps and stuff and talking to Seth, we came up and said, well, with her pedigree, we've got to give her a chance. And she won her first start at Gulfstream, and it kind of went from there. And she ended up being second in the Mother Goose and maybe the coaching clubs also. So that was her first stakes win. And to win to Alabama with her, she went on to win the Gazelle too. And was, as with the others, was a lot of fun. I mean, it was Phipps's horse, and we were then again, we were glad to be able to have the chance to win it and then go on in and win it. But I guess what stands out was like that morning at Clavern Farm when we kind of put our heads together and said, we got to give her a chance with this pedigree. And, might have been a little surprised the first time she ran. I think it was on the turf and at Gulfstream, and she won. And then we put her back on the dirt, and she went on and had a pretty good career on the dirt, and it's unfortunate what happened at Louisville, but I guess that's part of horse racing.
It's interesting that of the 4 Alabama winners, Pine Island is the only one that you didn't run in the test before she went on to win the Alabama.
Well, I think I'd run on those other 2 races, and, I didn't feel like that we needed to do anything. And she didn't have a lot of speed, so I'm sure I didn't feel like that she would have much of a chance, sprinting in the test, but for the others kind of did. And, I thought, we get her in the Alabama, going a distance of ground. That'd be kind of what she wants to do. And she trained really well up here over this training track. And, we went into it with a lot of confidence and, came out of it with more.
Sugar, are there certain qualities that each of those 4 fillies we just talked about had that maybe some intangibles that made them so successful, and maybe the same quality across the board with all 4?
Well, the one thing they all had is they all had pedigrees. So they were born to be decent racehorses. It doesn't make them a decent one, but they were. And, they took the training, and, they all wanted to run a distance of ground, and they were able to do that in some of the New York races, whether it had been at Belmont or here or back at Belmont. And I think that's kind of what made them stand out a little bit was, if they wanted to run that far, and, they would do what their jock wanted to, and they'd wait on them, and the riders were smart enough to kind of know their traits and would wait on them and let them finish instead of, maybe trying to force them to do something that they really weren't that comfortable doing. So I think that, them being able to be rateable and kind of wait on the rider and do what the rider wanted them to do was a trait. Some of the traits that made them good. Plus, they were trainable. You could do whatever you want to with all 4 of them. And if a horse in that way, it's a little bit hard to get them to do get them to race the way you want them to. And so I think the biggest thing is they wanted to run a distance of ground. They were bred to run a distance of ground, and they were able to do it, when we got them in the right spots.
You can hear that full conversation with Shug on our Trainer Talk show, the podcast out there now. Head over to our website or your favorite podcast platform and search for Shug McGaughey Trainer Talk, and you will absolutely love the rest of the conversation too. How great is Shug?
I was very intrigued just listening to those portions of the conversation. I can just imagine when you're talking to Shug just for how long back he can identify grade 1 winners. And it's just,
it's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, just jogging those different parts of his memory, because there's just only room for so many grade 1 wins in there. But getting to hear the stories about each one, you can just tell how invested he's been from the start. And it's so cool to hear him talk, just because he does have an eloquent way of putting that story for each race into the overall picture.
When I reached out to him and asked him to join me on Trainer Talk, I told him it's your 40-year anniversary of winning the your first Alabama. And he said, "You're dating me." And I said, "No, just paying my respects for a guy like Shug McGaughey."
I didn't want to say that first clip I couldn't actually witness. I just have to look back in history, but I won't date myself either. We'll just leave that one. We'll leave that one alone.
All right, so the Alabama renewed today. Race 11, 6:42 Eastern is the post time at the Spa. 1.25 miles on the main track. The 3-year-old ladies, Counting Stars, is going to be a huge favorite in there. She is a huge favorite on the morning line for West Point Thoroughbreds, 1-2. Mark Cassie, the trainer, Erod Ortiz Jr., the jockey. We will tell you later in the show if we feel like there's any way she can lose this race. Is she vulnerable? Can she succumb to the graveyard of champions, the graveyard of favorites? We'll tell you all about that in the 9 o'clock segment. But when we come back, we're going to turn our attention westward to Del Mar. Trainer Phil Bauer has asked to join us early on the show. 5:45 in the morning out there. This is what horse trainers do. He's going to join us after our Legends of the Turf in this short commercial break. Stay with us. That's coming up next on HRRN.
Going into the month of June 1953, only one thoroughbred in history, Whiskbroom II, had been able to sweep the handicap Triple Crown, consisting of the Metropolitan, Suburban, and Brooklyn handicaps. That had occurred in 1913. The reason for the difficulty in accomplishing the feat was the combination of the variance of distances and the unusually high weights asked to be shouldered by the better horses in these events. In May of 1953, Tom Fool, the startlingly handsome Green Tree Stable Standard Bearer, had won the Joe H. Palmer handicap over 6 furlongs while toting an impost of 130 pounds. Now 4 years old, he had become a horse to be reckoned with at any distance with any impost. In the first leg of the handicap Triple Crown, the Metropolitan, he toted 130 pounds on an off-track over the mile distance. Teddy Atkinson, the gentleman from Canada, who was his regular rider, got Tom Fool to the lead at the top of the stretch and tried to let the son of Meenow coast to the wire for the win. But Royal Vale made a late charge so that Atkinson had to get into Tom Fool, so to speak, to hold on for the score in a time of 1:35.3. In the Suburban at 1 1/4 miles, Tom Fool was assigned an impost of 134 pounds, and only one 4-year-old colt, that being Assault, had been asked to carry more and win. No one wanted the lead in the Suburban, so Atkinson put Tom Fool out in front and rated him very nicely until the 16th pole, when Royal Vale came flying and got eyeball to eyeball in the charge to the wire. Atkinson on Tom Fool and Jackie Westrop on Royal Vale had to reach back for all their riding skills to get all they could out of their respective mounts. The two gallant thoroughbreds were locked together, matching strides, thundering for the finish in an absolutely marvelous spectacle of sport. Tom Fool stuck his head in front of the wire to chalk up the laurels in the second leg of the Triple Crown. Royal Vale had actually gained a slight advantage with 100 yards to go, but Tom Fool had courageously refused to back down and came on again with pure grit to win it. Only Greylag, Devil Diver, and 830 had won it with a higher impost. In his next start prior to the final leg, the Brooklyn, Tom Fool captured the Carter handicap under a burdensome 135 pounds. In the Brooklyn, he was assigned 136 pounds to shoulder for the very testing 12-furlong distance, and not only did he win it, but he won it with authority and then became the first horse in 40 years to accomplish that feat. He then went on to tally 4 more wins that year in winning the Wilson, the Whitney, the Sissenby Mile, and the Pimlico Special. Tom Fool had a year in 1953 that was indeed a watermark in thoroughbred racing. He had gone postward 10 times, all in handicaps, at distances from sprints to grueling routes, and won them all. Need there be any doubt whatsoever that he was dubbed Handicap Horse of the Year, and he was voted champion sprinter, if you can digest that. His composite racing record, 30 starts, 21 wins, 7 seconds, 1/3, 1/4. The stamp of greatness is emblazoned with a capital G next to his name, and the story of his capturing the handicap triple in 1953 is truly a great moment in racing.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Get ready for the biggest night of the year at Charlestown on Friday, August 28th. It's the Grade 2 $1 million Charlestown Classic and the Grade 2 $750,000 Charlestown Oaks, the richest sprint race for 3-year-old fillies in North America. The spectacular card features 9 stakes races worth over $2.7 million. The action gets started with a special first post time of 5 o'clock Eastern. It's the Grade 2 Charlestown Classic and Grade 2 Charlestown Oaks on Friday, August 28th here at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races.
It's time now to shine the spotlight on the Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week.
Cody's Wish takes the lead. Cody's Wish and National Treasure coming down to the line. Fighting back National Treasure. Oh, Cody's Wish. Cody's Wish. I think he won it by a nose on the wire over National Treasure.
That's Horse of the Year and Darley Stallion Cody's Wish capturing his second Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. My goodness, was he good. Breeders are now witnessing the full 360 with Cody's Wish, as the Horse of the Year is now the leading freshman at the yearling sales with a $950,000 top lot at Saratoga, plus a $360,000 session topper at the New York Breds. Cody's Wish is an all-around superstar, and he is your Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week. Learn more about Cody's Wish and all the Darley Stallions by visiting darleyamerica.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Top of the lane. Tam Tam's off the turn, 2 lengths lead. Ground support set down, but it's still second. East Jabip is passing horses quickly, but time is running out. And Tam Tam has built a 5-length lead with 100 yards to go. Tam Tam's gone. Tam Tam powering home to win it by 6 lengths on the wire. And a good effort from East Jabip, but was second best. Use Me and Bohemian.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Angela Herman with you on this Saturday morning, looking ahead to Pacific Classic Day at Del Mar, Alabama Day at Saratoga, and don't forget you have Claiming Crown Preview Day at Colonial, getting ready for that big event coming up at Churchill Downs in November. So, Angela, all kinds of great wagering and racing going on later today.
Absolutely. And that card at Del Mar, we've talked about it a little bit, but that card really from start to finish is one of the finer betting products that I've seen all summer. And I mean, not to drown out Saratoga at all. It's a good card, but my goodness, Del Mar took a while to get through, and I still might look over it again.
Travis Stone had the call of the Tepin Stakes, won by Tam Tam impressively by 5 3/4 lengths. Phil Bauer, the trainer of Tam Tam, who goes in the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks this afternoon. That's the race preceding the Pacific Classic, and Phil is up early. Well, horse trainers are always up early, but he's up early on the West Coast to be with us here this morning. Phil, appreciate the time, my friend.
Morning, Mike. Nice to be on. It must mean we have a big event when you're wanting to talk to us. So,
yeah, well, and it also means we're a couple of weeks away from the opening of deer season in Kentucky.
Yeah, it's my hunting buddy, my middle son Lincoln. He's big into lacrosse now, so it's taken away a lot of our time in the woods. But certainly enjoy getting out when we can, and it's always a special time when we can do it.
That kid's got to get his priorities straight.
I know it. I told him, I said, what are we doing here? But no, he's doing great, and it's something that hopefully he can. He's in 6th grade, and hopefully he can play, the next few years and through high school, and it's enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, good for him. You know what else is enjoyable to watch? Tam Tam, when she's on her game like she was last time out. Boy, that was impressive, huh?
Yeah, I think if she runs that race back, she'll be extremely tough today. So she's just given us all the signs that she's ready to do it again. So we're looking forward to this afternoon out here, and hopefully we can have a repeat effort. Just the way she, it's fun to watch her kind of progress this year. Just every start she seems to be kind of getting a little bit better, and the last one mentally she was really exploded down the lane when called on. So I think if she can do that again, it'll be fun.
You made the decision in February to move her to the grass, and since that time, she's won 3 of 5. She has a second and a third. She's been somewhat of a monster when you moved her to the turf. Talk about that decision.
It was basically at 2, we were always really high on her. She showed good talent in the morning. And then once we kind of dissected all her races and her breezes in the morning, we felt like when she came off the bridle, she was kind of spinning her wheels. And so we thought, let's try the grass and see if she can kind of get a hold of it better. And that was the trick. We've pondered the idea of maybe trying the dirt again down the road, but we'll keep her on the grass for now, especially as well as she's doing.
Hey, Phil, Angela here, and I have been watching some of Tam Tam's spring, and you mentioned she's been getting better and better each start. And I'm wondering what led to the decision on the Del Mar Oaks, because she's been racing against the 3-year-olds. How much did that play into your decision to send her here? And when you size up the field that you're going against, what would be best case scenario for Tam Tam?
It boiled down to the grade 1. With Richard breeding as well, we felt like, if we could get grade 1 placing or a win, the ripple effects are much more significant. So that was the main reason of bringing her out here, was to target that. You got this, and then the race at Keeneland, the QE2 are the only grade 1s left for straight 3-year-olds. And as far as dissecting the race, I would expect her to be on or near the front by the time they come through the wire the first time. She's shown that she's always possessed pretty decent gate speed, and then she's got a high cruising speed. So I think, there's a couple others in there that might have the same idea, but we felt like in the regret we forced her to rate, and it kind of took away a little bit of her finish. And so the instructions in the Teppan was just to kind of let her run free. So it kind of looked like maybe he made a middle move going into the far turn, but that was just, he said he felt like he had a lot of horse, so that was just kind of staying out of her way. And I think that might be the key to her, is just let her run free. And, she's got a big, long stride, very athletic filly, and the only question today is the 1 1/8, but I think we had an excuse in the regret. So she's always given us the indication that she'll be able to handle more ground. So, we're confident today, and hopefully she runs to her training.
So maybe in letting her just take the reins and take control through the race, has getting her to develop been more of a physical issue and getting her up to shape, or getting her to settle down mentally?
She's a pretty kind filly. She does like her job and like to kind of take a decent hold. She's not a runoff. She is rateable, but she just kind of likes to run free. So that's what we're going to let her do. And I think with anything, racing never hurts with mental maturity and scenarios that they encounter. So, and we learn more about them too. It's, you can only see so much in the morning. We kind of landed on that's going to be our game plan.
Phil, you take her all the way out to the West Coast for this grade 1 engagement, and you said the grade 1 is really what attracted you to this race and the timing of it all. When you start getting a horse ready, any horse, not just Tam Tam, but you start getting a horse ready to make that pilgrimage all the way to California, completely different surface, different in a climate. What are some of the things that you want to make sure you keep in mind so that when you get there, she's acclimated and she's ready for a peak effort?
That's with horse racing, there's so many hurdles you got to jump, or hoops you have to jump through, that it was a concern. The ship, it was very hot in Kentucky when we left, and it's not as easy to fly horses anymore than it used to be. So she had to van to Indianapolis and then fly to LAX and then van down to San Diego or Del Mar. So it was a long ship for her, and we were concerned how she'd handle it. But, we made sure to hydrate her on both ends, and that was the first check mark, is how she arrived, and she shipped very well, and showed good energy all week. So I think you never know, but certainly we tried to prepare her the best we could, and you could see on her work line that we spaced her breezes a little bit coming into this, and she's a lighter made filly, so we didn't want to gut her, and that's kind of the approach we took.
You mentioned the owner, Richard Rigney. He's been so good to you over the years. It's a wonderful relationship, and we've talked about it here on the show before, Phil. You've handed him a Grade 1 trophy before, back in 2023, when played hard after the La Troyenne. How cool would it be to hand him this one?
This is why we do it. I mean, this is he was born in California, so this necessarily isn't his home track, but I think it's fun for him to come out here and relive some memories where he fell in love with the game. So it's to win another Grade 1 is I don't know if you can put it into words, but it's for a smaller outfit, he's more than deserving of it, as much as he puts into the game. So to be here, it's we've told ourselves in the past maybe we didn't relish the moments as well as we should have. So we're savoring it this time, just to be in it, and then hopefully to run well and even win it.
Good for you. Enjoy every second of this one, Phil. Best of luck, and let's hope you're standing in the winner's circle later today.
And I'd love that, and appreciate you having me on.
You got it, my friend. Phil Bauer here on HRRN. One of those guys that works so hard. There are people in this game that do a wonderful job that don't always get the credit. And Phil Bauer, in my opinion, is one of those guys. For a long time, we talked about jockey Brian Hernandez Jr. before he finally burst onto the scene with the Oaks and the Derby wins that year. There are people that just do a fantastic job that don't often make the headlines, but when they get a good horse like this, boy, do they know what to do with it.
And he's been with her from, the word go. When you work with one stable exclusively, you get to develop, I would imagine, a method that they use to really work together to find the best spots. And they do that from very early on in the horse's career. It's not like claiming the horse and maybe having one or two spots picked out. Mm-hmm. They got to have everything for these horses mapped out from the word go. So to see them come to fruition and run as well as Tam Tam has, it's really hard not to root for people who are taking a horse from the word go and really trying to do right by her, and wherever it lands her, hopefully it's in the winner's circle of a Grade 1, but she's taken them on quite a ride this spring, and I wish them luck in that keeping going.
Post time for the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks, presented by Keeneland Sales, 9:10 Eastern, so 6:10 locally. It's race number 9 on that Pacific Classic Day card at Del Mar. We'll get to a break. We're back with more. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Woodford Feed, where tradition merges with technology. Family owned since 1940 and providing exceptional customer service, Woodford Feed specializes in the highest quality feed, using only the finest ingredients to ensure optimal nutrition for your horses. In addition, Woodford Feed can help with all your farm needs, including field seed, fertilizer, and weed control. So whether your horse is sprinting around the racetrack or has a foal by her side, count on Woodford Feed to provide the quality nutrition necessary to perform at the highest level. Woodford Feed, Versailles, Kentucky.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for and there they go. Almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car, and there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fan favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Want to get the latest HRRN content directly on your computer or mobile device? Then subscribe to our podcast using the Podbean app or Apple Podcasts. Just go to hrrn.podbean.com on your computer and click follow, or download the Podbean app and search HRRN. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and listen to our latest episodes anytime. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our podcasts today. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
There's a hole at the rail for Always a Runner, and she confronts Counting Stars once again. These two hook up at the top of the stretch in a showdown at the Spa. Always a Runner, the Kentucky Oaks winner on the inside. Counting Stars going with her. These two head to head, and Counting Stars has another gear and opens up with authority. Counting Stars takes control of the division with a resounding victory in the Coaching Club American Oaks. Always a Runner held on to second, but was soundly defeated.
Yeah, did she ever take control of the division? The Mark Casse trainee won by 4 1/4 lengths in that Grade 1 race. Frank Miramati had the call for you. She's back in action later today in the Alabama. She is a prohibitive favorite, 1-2 on the morning line. We're going to talk more about that race and maybe a potential upsetter or two if indeed it is going to happen. We'll do that in our next segment. But Angela, we want to remind folks that as they're making plans to be in Kentucky for Keeneland September, for the September sale, for the October race meet, or for Breeders' Cup, and you're looking for a wonderful meal, if you have clients that you're bringing to Keeneland or just friends and family and you want to impress them, bring them to Tony's of Lexington. Every week I tell you about the quality of the food, the best steak you're going to find anywhere. The atmosphere is off the charts, incredible. And then you mix in the fact that the people are so wonderful and they'll do anything to make your meal as enjoyable and your experience as enjoyable as possible. And you got a home run. You got a winner. Tony's of Lexington, they're on Main Street right behind Rupp Arena. You tell them that the Baron sent you in and told you to say hello, and they will take wonderful care of you. Well, they'll do it too, even if you don't. They'll probably take better care of you if you don't mention my name. So maybe don't tell them that I sent you in, but tell them you heard it on the radio. Yeah, I'm telling you, you are going to love it.
You make me hungry way too early in the morning every single Saturday. So, yes, I will be definitely down at Tony's when I visit Lexington next time around.
Yep, should be fantastic. Okay, poll question for you this morning. We have to update this before we get to hour number 2, and we'll tell you what's coming up the rest of the show. But your poll question this morning, we want to know what you feel is the most impressive Pacific Classic performance of all time? Is it Flightline winning by 19 1/4 lengths, Beholder winning by more than 8 lengths, or Candy Ride's record time of 1:59.11? Or do you feel like it's something else? Maybe another performance stands out to you. Let us know. Right now, Flightline dominating the standings, 64% of you thinking that was the most impressive Pacific Classic performance of all time.
Well, one of the comments that we've got on X is that Beholder swooping by the boys was truly amazing.
It was.
Somebody agrees with us. I think Beholder is second in the poll right now, but she's got some ground to make up on Flightline. Not an unfamiliar position for some horses in the past, so we'll see how it goes.
All right, we're back with hour number 2 right after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of 3. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, Angela Herman, the Countess of Canterbury. And we are thrilled to have you with us on this Saturday morning as we look ahead to this afternoon's Pacific Classic Day program at Del Mar, the Alabama at Saratoga, and let's not forget at Colonial, that Claiming Crown Preview Day. That's a really rock-solid program they put together, looking ahead to the Claiming Crown, which will return to Churchill Downs in mid-November. So a lot of action taking place. Angela, we heard from Phil Bauer in the first hour of the program talking about Tam Tam in the Del Mar Oaks. That's the race before the Pacific Classic. And then we spent some time looking back at that relationship and the rivalry between Richard Mandella and his good friend Bill Mott, and that day 30 years ago when Darren Go ended Cigar's winning streak.
And imagine that. It was that impressive of a performance, and it didn't make the poll because there's that many good races that have gone on in the Pacific Classic. You know, Darren Go is one of those horses like Mandella described that could have been anything, but it was just a mental thing with him. And you never know when some of those horses that maybe have to be in the mood to put in a race like that are going to turn one in. And it takes that kind of effort and maybe that kind of surprise to end a win streak like Cigars. But it's been a fun recall, especially the dynamic between Mott and Mandella.
If you missed it at the top of the show, we'll pass along our Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question for you momentarily, but let's fill you in on what's coming up throughout the rest of the show. Aggie Ordonez, looking to become the first female trainer ever to win the Pacific Classic, will join us live from Southern California at 9:20. 9:40, Steve Andersen of the Daily Racing Forum will talk more about that Pacific Classic Day program and some of the other storylines surrounding those races later today. James Scully's TwinSpires Triple Play at 10 o'clock Eastern. Kurt Becker's Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20. And at 10:30, I Ask, They Answer with Dale Romans, with Tim Wilkin, and plenty of things to talk about with Dale and Tim this week. So we'll get into those topics coming up later in the show. Really looking forward to that visit with Aggie here in just a little bit.
I would love to hear what she has to say about Almond Joy because, I mean, her stable is going as well as it has right now, and she has Almond Joy. She has a sibling to Almond Joy in Vodka Vodka. We get to catch up with the stable and really see how she's coming into this because she's not afraid to take shots. You know, last year she put this filly into a grade 3 coming out of state bred races, and we'll just see if they found her ceiling yet. Maybe there's even more to offer, and Almond Joy is going to be a good price. So I'd love to hear how she's doing.
Yeah, she's taking a big swing today against the boys in the Pacific Classic, but for $1 million, why not? Angela, you have this week's Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question?
I do. It'll get your mojo working. It's always a tough one, but are you ready? All right, here we go. Who was the only gray or roan-colored horse ever to win the Pacific Classic? There's just one. No Googling him or her. Get your mojo working.
All right, the answer comes your way. End of the show right around 10:55 Eastern. The Alabama Stakes is one of the oldest stakes that we have in our sport. And there have been so many unbelievable fillies to have come through that race. Earlier, we looked back on a couple of the victories by Hall of Fame trainer Shug McGaughey, who has won the race 4 times. He doesn't have a horse in this race this year, but the star of the show is a filly named Counting Stars for West Point Thoroughbreds. She's 1-2 on the morning line. She breaks from the outside. It's a short field. She should get a really good trip from out there. Is there any chance that she does not walk away with the victory here today?
I mean, she runs her race. She's just in a different league than the rest of this competition at this point in their careers. And sometimes we do talk about 3-year-old fillies a little bit earlier in the year. That's when they're developing. That's really when Counting Stars put all the pieces together, because she was a very good juvenile, but she stepped up her game an awful lot in this 3-year-old year and was keeping herself closer to the pace, giving herself less to do and giving her the chance to get into some of those fights down the stretch in which she's won. She's won 3 of her last 4. And there's not just as much room for horses to develop and come along, I'd say, at this time of year. You see a lot of races on the page now for most of the competition that's going to line up against her, and nothing is even in the neighborhood of what Counting Stars can put up when she's at her best. So I guess you maybe try to form exotics, you try to use horizontals with her, but with the outside post especially, I just don't see how anybody is going to take that big a step forward in here. So I guess we start calculating who's going to maybe fill out some of the spots underneath her. Do you see a scenario where she loses?
No, I don't. I think she's just head and shoulders above this group. I guess, and this is going to be kind of a Captain Obvious type of statement, if you're looking for a horse to beat her, if she doesn't show up with her A, and I don't even know if she needs to bring her A game today. I think if she shows up with her B game, I think that's enough to handle this group that she's facing. But Chad Brown has number 4, My Guns Loaded, in here. And this is a lightly raced, rapidly developing 3-year-old filly, a daughter of Gun Runner. She has a great pedigree, and she has shown the ability to be effective in and to win by big margins and do it the right way against lesser competition than she's facing today. This is a huge step up for her, but I think she's deserved it. She's earned this step up, especially with that last win at Saratoga in the optional claiming allowance race. She won that race by 3 lengths. She did it so professionally. She sits back off the pace. She's, in my opinion, and again, kind of Captain Obvious because she's 3-1 on the morning line. She's the main danger to the favorite in here. But even so, she has to up her game so many levels to compete with where Counting Stars is right now. It's hard to imagine that she beats her.
She's one of maybe 2 or so that you could see maybe a big step forward because it's 3 starts into her career. But we're going to look at both sides of anybody that we're talking about today. My Guns Loaded is only 3 starts into her career. And you would think that if you pay $650,000 for a horse a couple years ago, you just want to have more than 3 starts into her by now. And I know that there was a change of hands along the way, but still, My Guns Loaded has obviously had some hiccups along the way. And sometimes you'll see it with some of these horses who have broke their maidens late. Maybe they needed more ground, but there's only so many that really needed more ground to become a way better filly than they were sprinting. I just don't see anybody in here who is going to elevate their game tenfold going 1.25 miles. They give away too much in too many categories to Counting Stars, and My Guns Loaded probably gives away the most in the experience department, but upside is definitely there for the 4.
The good news is My Guns Loaded is 2 for 2 at Saratoga. The bad news is Counting Stars is 2 for 2 at Saratoga.
Bad news for everybody with that respect, because some horses, I guess, have you ever applied the what happens at Saratoga stays at Saratoga to any of these horses going forward? Some horses really love it, and they love either the main track or the turf, and they just can't carry that elsewhere. Counting Stars certainly is not that sort of filly, and you would think you would see somebody in here who was a real Saratoga specialist, maybe one of the New York breds that would take a step in against her, but they've probably already done that somewhere along the trail. And that's the other problem, is that a couple of these exit the Coaching Club American Oaks as opposed to their maiden win, and they were trounced by her in there. So in a matter of this short a time, making up 6 or 7 lengths, I don't really see it happening. But Measure is the filly who ran 3rd that day. Of course, we won't see always a runner in here, but Measure is one who is taking steps in the right direction. But Mark Casse also knows these 2 fillies very well. I think that she would have been in line with Counting Stars a lot earlier than the Oaks if she was that kind of filly. So you have to question where her ceiling is and if she may have already hit it.
I think he's happy with a runner-up effort from Measure.
I would guess so.
I mean, I know he wants to win, right? He's not just putting her in there saying, I hope to run second. He would love to see her win this race, but I truly believe he'd be thrilled if she can be second, and he'd have the exacta with Counting Stars and then her.
Oh, absolutely. If I'm looking for alternatives, if one of the next best alternatives is from the same barn, it makes you lose a little bit of hope in that. You know, they're not going to go lock horns with her up front if she takes the lead. They're not going to, get tooth and nail with her, I think, at most points in the race. So if you're looking for any way to challenge her early, that is not the avenue to go. And that's one of the other main problems in this field. Who is going to challenge her early? Because if you let the best horse get the front, good luck running her down, especially with all the seasoning she has on a lot of the competition.
Yeah, it's over. 6:42 Eastern, the post time for the Grade 1 Alabama, race 11 on the card. The race before, that's not the only greatest take on the program. The race before it is pretty solid, too. I always enjoy this race every time the Saratoga meet rolls around. The Boston Spa. Now, it's a Grade 2, mile and a 16th on the inner turf course. And here's our man, Chad Brown, as you might expect, very prominent in this race again this year.
Of course. Yeah, you just don't have filly and mare turf races in New York without at least the presence of Chad Brown, let alone the team from Chad Brown. Mm-hmm. There's a few in here. And Sagesta is going to be the heavy favorite in here. His other two horses, I think, definitely, it's kind of the same case. He would be thrilled if they hit the board along with her. However, she has tasted defeat recently when she's been a little closer to the front end. Do you think that they're going to try to relax her in the Boston Spa? Because this is another case where unless you count on horses to go out and set the pace for you, there's going to be some decisions for Flavien Prat to make early on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, she's the horse to beat, right? And that's why she's the morning line favorite. And she's proven that on her day, she is really, really tough, but she's also proven that she can be beaten. She's not undefeated. She's good. She's really good. But there are times when horses are just better than her. And it appears like she has this field at her mercy. But there are, she doesn't have to win it, put it that way. And at a short price, I think if you're looking for some value, you can take a swing against her.
That's very fair. And in looking for targets down the road for Sagesta, I just don't know where exactly she's going to want to go. She'll go to Keeneland this fall, but for the Breeders' Cup, this is kind of the curious part with her. If you're going to take her there, which way are you going to go? Because she's been sticking with mile races lately. Do you want to stretch her out against the fillies and mares to keep her with her own gender? I guess I ask the questions down the road because the Boston Spa looks like her race to lose on paper, and I just don't know what viable targets are going to be that much more appealing for her down the road in the distance department. Now, that being said, there's not all cupcakes lined up against her. Ozara did manage to win this race last year, and she did it pretty impressively. You get the Exacta coming back from last year, and you're going to get them at very bettable prices. So if you were to take one of the two that filled out that Exacta last year between Deep Satin and Ozara, who have not been at their very best lately, who have been facing against good competition, which do you prefer?
Yeah, I think probably Ozara. I mean, the defending champ, she loves this turf course. She's 3 for 4 at Saratoga. I think I give the nod to Ozara. She does have to overcome that inside post position. If she breaks well, she can get herself into a ground-saving stalking position. I could see, between the two, I could see her kind of reversing her form and getting back on track a little bit easier than I could the other.
That's fair. And I think that I would probably lean towards Ozara too, because she is one of those Saratoga specialists. Like we talked about, Deep Satin definitely likes it there. But it's been a while since we've seen her get to the winner's circle and do so with authority. You have to go back a couple of years really to find that sort of race. And we do have a new import coming in from Germany. She's an Irish bred.
Yeah.
But form can get very hard to follow with a horse like Sunlit Uplands, because not just finding the replays, but gauging their competition can be very difficult when they come from those sorts of ports. And although she was a Grade 3 winner in Germany, it was over a yielding course. She's run over a number of courses in her past. I'm not sure that's going to be the problem. It's going to be whether or not she can relax herself, because she's been close to the pace in her European races. I don't know if that's going to work out great in here. I mean, I think that if you have to go and be in the same spot as Sagesta and outfinish her, you got your work cut out for you. But what do you think we can see from her in her first U.S. start?
She's the wild card. You just don't know where she fits at a class level. I think she seems to be a notch below horses like Sagesta. But we'll find out this afternoon. John Velasquez, the Hall of Famer, he's going to get everything out of her that he possibly can. We're going to find out, because of the fact that he's aboard, we're going to find out exactly what this filly is made of this afternoon. And, we'll see if she fits at this level. I think this might be a little above where she should be.
I guess I would lean that way too, but I don't fault anybody who brings a horse to America that might be seeking, a difference in scenario, whether it be the ground or otherwise, and just throwing them in to see where they fit. How else are you going to do it? Because you can put her into some sort of, listed stake or something like that, but she might not be coming over here for that sort of purpose. So if you want to see if she's a grade 2, a grade 3, or beyond sort of horse, put her in here and see what happens.
The Alabama, the Boston Spa, both part of a rock-solid Saturday afternoon at Saratoga. When we come back, we're going to turn our attention back to Del Mar. Aggie Ordonez attempting to become the first female trainer ever to win the Pacific Classic, and she'll do it with a filly, a Calbred filly. We'll talk more about that when we come back. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Join us at Kentucky Downs August 29th through September 9th, showcasing 7 days of racing with $37 million in purses, including $17.9 million in KTDF purses for Kentucky breds and the $3 million Nashville Derby on Saturday, September 5th. America's richest and only all-turf meet, hosting 2 Breeders' Cup win and you're in races. Reserved seats on sale at themintkentuckydowns.com. There's unique, and there's Kentucky Downs.
The National HBPA is continuously working to protect the health and welfare of horses by advocating and funding research to help reduce equine injuries, lobbying for a national testing lab to oversee and establish absolute uniform laboratory protocols, advocating for every track to undergo an annual independent surface assessment, passionately supporting off-the-track thoroughbred retirement facilities and adoption groups, and so much more. See additional HBPA initiatives at nationalhbpa.com.
Get ready for the biggest night of the year at Charlestown on Friday, August 28th. It's the Grade 2 $1 million Charlestown Classic and the Grade 2 $750,000 Charlestown Oaks, the richest sprint race for 3-year-old fillies in North America. The spectacular card features 9 stakes races worth over $2.7 million. The action gets started with a special first post time of 5 o'clock Eastern. It's the Grade 2 Charlestown Classic and Grade 2 Charlestown Oaks on Friday, August 28th here at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races.
Colonial Downs summer racing season is here with a new schedule featuring live racing every Thursday through Sunday. Post time 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Back is our popular 12% takeout pick 5 offered twice daily, and play the all-new $3 late pick 3 with a 15% takeout. Don't forget, closing day will be Labor Day, Monday, September 7th with the Grade 3 Old Dominion Derby. Colonial Downs, the next era in racing.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Enjoy is rallying on the outside, trying to get into second now, and she's coming after Simply Joking. Seismic Beauty did not fire 2-horse race. Simply Joking. Enjoy is coming now. Enjoy and Hall of Famer Kent DeSormo storm to the front in the Santa Margarita. The California bred sensation, Enjoy, strolls to a 4-length win. Second is Simply Joking. Seismic Beauty finished third.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Angela Herman with you on this Saturday morning. That was Frank Miramati with the call of the Santa Margarita, where Calbred champion Enjoy put it all together and dominated the competition, winning, as you heard Frank say, by nearly 4 lengths. She now has 6 wins from 18 starts. She has earned nearly $700,000 in purses, and today she takes on the boys in the Grade 1 $1 million Pacific Classic. Her trainer, Aggie Ordonez, joins us now. Aggie, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Pleasure to be here.
You know, I remember speaking with you right before the Grade 1 Beholder Mile back in March, and we talked about the quality of that field. I'm glad you picked a softer spot for her this afternoon.
I must say, I do like to swing big, and the filly just is doing so wonderful, and she loves Del Mar, and I think she'll really appreciate the added distance, going 1.25 miles, and she's on top of her game, so here we are.
When did you make the decision to say, okay, we're going to the Pacific Classic?
Well, I loved her last race in the Clement Hirsch, and if you watch that race closely, the last maybe 10 strides, it's like she hits another gear, and I don't think your Cadillac could get there in time, but she made it close, by the time she really got to that final gear. So watching that again and again in the replays, this filly's just getting warmed up here. If that's the case, we're in for one heck of a ride.
Well, hi, Angela here. I got to look at her. I got to look at her this morning, and she looks a picture getting ready for the Pacific Classic. And you mentioned that last race, but let's go a little bit further back in the time machine, because she won the Fleet Treat last year, and she won that with a bang. And that was, I would say, where, I first caught on with her loving Del Mar as much as she does. What is it about that track that she loves so much? Because her performances there are out of this world.
Del Mar is everyone bets or trains horses for courses where certain horses appreciate certain tracks and just seem to thrive there. But it seems to be to an exaggerated degree at Del Mar, and I'm not sure what it is, whether it's just the laid back feel, and you're here at the beach and you got the ocean air blowing in on her every day, and or something about the surface and the tide. She loves it here. She thrives here. She hit her best stride here as a 3-year-old, and so this was her best race that she ran last time out here was a lifetime top on the speed figures that I use, or Thorograph, and she ran a lifetime top. She's moving in the right direction, and 4-year-old fillies, they really, something happens with 4-year-old fillies. It's when they thrive. It's when they really shine and develop and become, they change from being teenage girls into young athletic women.
I was going to bring that up next, Aggie. I'm so glad you did, because you told me that before in March when you joined me on the show. You said fillies blossom as 4-year-olds, and she's certainly doing that. What's different about Almond Joy now as opposed to when she made that run in the Beholder Mile back in March?
She finally turned the corner. She finally turned the corner as far as growth and development. And she's never looked small, trust me. But I want to say you would call her lanky or leggy. If you faulted her, you would just say she's more legs than body and girth. But that's changing, and it's changing rapidly. We don't weigh them here at Del Mar. The scales are at Santa Anita, but I would bet this filly's up over 1,200 pounds by now. She's just broadened in her shoulder, her girth, and she's got a powerful hind end on her. In fact, I pride myself that a lot of my horses win best turned out in the paddock, and she had never won it. My best filly, she had never won best turned out in the paddock. But when she walked over for the Clement Hirsch, Grade 1 against open company with some serious shippers, she won it that day. She finally looked big, powerful, balanced. She looks amazing right now.
She's a gorgeous filly, and you did talk about her being a gangly 2-year-old. And at the time, looking back at her, you said she was also a gentle giant as a 2-year-old. Has that changed with her in becoming a 4-year-old, or is she still as gentle as she ever was?
A little bit. She seems to be a little bit more serious about her game right now. I must admit, she will nip at me a little bit right before race day. Most days, she's a sweetheart. She's just a doll. But as she gets close to a race, she gets quite serious and feisty. And but for the most part, she's an angel.
I remember you describing her as a little bit of an airhead at times. Has she gotten past that, or is she still a little dingy?
No, she has not. she has her head in the clouds some days, and you just look at her and you wonder what is going on between those ears, because she'll just be. So when Kent got on her the other morning to work her, to breeze her for this race, I decided to walk her up through the paddock. And we did that with two horses that day, Vodka, her half-brother, who's a pretty accomplished racehorse on his own right, and Joy. And Vodka came into the paddock, and he's got a little sweat going, and he's checking things out, and he's got a little dance like a boxer going into the ring. You know, he's got himself warmed up. And then the next break, an hour later, Joy comes strolling in there. And from a distance, this silhouette, you couldn't tell which one was the pony. They're both like la-di-da, smelling the flowers, looking up in the trees. I mean, she walks over there flat-footed, calm and quiet, so relaxed. Nothing gears her up. And she pretty much walks into her race that way on paddock, into the paddock that way on race day, which to me translates to lengths at the wire. If they're not wasting energy, that's in our pocket. That's money in the pocket.
You know, I'm a huge fan of her Hall of Fame jockey, Kent DeSormo. I've gotten a chance to be around Kent many, many, many times over the years. And let's face it, there are times when Kent DeSormo could be described as a little bit of an airhead too, right? He's got that great personality. And maybe that's why these two get along so well.
I don't know about that. I'll tell you, on game day, there's nobody more serious and into the game than Kent DeSormo, and I count on it. I need every bit of his experience and his wisdom, and he has brought it to me every single time. He takes it very seriously, and he gives 110%. I know he's a charming, fun guy, and everybody loves Kent. And maybe in his younger days, I don't see that side of him. I see a very serious professional who shows up and never doesn't miss a work, shows up on time, and takes this very, very seriously.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And you know, he's such a pro. He's won over 6,000 races. So when you get a guy like that, Aggie, and you give him a leg up, you probably don't even have to give him any instructions, do you?
Never. Well, I mean, if you sent your car out there, would you give Mario Andretti, directions around the racetrack? Are you kidding me? No, that's his job. My job's a few hours from being over, and his is about to begin.
All right, I have one more question about Vodka, since you did bring him up, because he's gone from the turf, then he was second in the Santa Anita Handicap, then you took him to Sunland, and now he's steadily back on the work tab. What's coming up for him?
I nominated Vodka to the Pat O'Brien because that's when he'll be ready. He is one work away from being ready. He's working tomorrow, and we're looking at the Pat O'Brien. If everything goes well in this work, it's not his distance, but the timing is right. And sometimes you just have to go with what's in front of you and let the horse lead the way. When he ran at Sunland, he stumbled out of the gate and pulled his left front shoe off at the gate. And he ran that race on 3 shoes. Ooh. So an impressive warrior. You love him for it, but he paid the price. For the next 2 months, he was breaking out abscesses from that foot, from the bruising, from running on a bare foot on a tough track. And we're finally through that. We went from having a Z-bar to a 3/4 shoe, and I didn't get serious training until I could put a full shoe back on him and keep him balanced and squared up underneath himself. And he's magic right now.
Aggie, I was saying earlier in the show that if you can win this, you're going to become the first female trainer ever to win the Pacific Classic, and that's just a wonderful thing. And I was saying earlier that this is probably the year, if it's going to happen, this is probably the year it'll happen, because you look at what Cherie DeVoe has done this season, Lindsay Schultz winning the Haskell, Luster and Josie Carroll last weekend beating the boys in the King's Plate. This is probably the year it's going to happen, and I know you would relish every second of that.
I tell you, I can't let California girls down, Kenny. We've got to represent. This is the year, and we're going to try and take this for the women. And I think it's a natural progression that women have really broken the glass ceiling in the game and reached new heights. And what an amazing feat that Sheree winning the Kentucky Derby. I was crying watching that race and rooting for her every step of the way. And I think it's – I want to say that women are such – not that men aren't, but women have so much compassion and love of the horse, and are in it for the right reasons. And I'll go ahead and say it, with all the restrictions that HISA has put out there and limitations and scrutiny that we're under, it doesn't surprise me that women are rising to the top. They're in it for the right reasons. They play clean, they play pure, and these horses are running on love.
That's great to see. And talking about love, you're very close with the Bakers, Jerry Baker, Connie Baker, who are also the breeders of Almond Joy. How cool would it be to be able to look at them after the Pacific Classic and hand them that trophy?
You know, this is a once-in-a-lifetime filly to have in the barn. As Vodka is a once-in-a-lifetime colt to have in the barn. But I have to go a step farther and say that Connie and Jerry Baker are once-in-a-lifetime friends. And I lost my mom in 2023, and nothing too serious that I want to get into, but they have been such a support and such strength for me to get through some tough times and been there for me. And I consider them family. If I could hand them that trophy, it'd be an accomplishment of a lifetime for me on a personal level, aside from all the professional goosebumps I would have as well.
Well, Aggie, she's a wonderful filly. She's got a wonderful trainer, and we want to wish you all the best later today with Almond Joy in that Pacific Classic. We'll be watching. We'll be cheering.
Go Almond Joy!
Thank you both so much.
Thank you, Aggie. Aggie Ordonez, yeah, such a delight, right? And I mean, somebody who does things the right way. And now she's got these special horses, and they mean the world to her. And I felt that way after I visited with her for the first time in March before the Beholder Mile. She just, her enthusiasm, her passion, her love of the horse, it comes through when you talk to her, and it's infectious.
Yeah, pick the phone back up. I loved talking to her and doing things the right way, like you said. Win, lose, or draw, she is not going to let the California ladies or any of the rest of us out there down by taking a shot with Almond Joy. And like you said, doing things the right way. You know, she gets very hands-on with her horses, massages them, knows them all like the back of her hand, makes sure that they get the very best out of their life as a racehorse. And it seems that they return the favor to her and that they have a wonderful relationship, not just the horses, her, but with the owners too. That was such a pleasure to talk to her. I hope we get to do it again soon.
I'm not sure she got my point when I brought up Kent DeSormo and the fact that, hey, some would say Kent DeSormo could be a little bit of an airhead too, just like Almond Joy, as she was talking about. I spent a lot of time around Kent DeSormo, and sometimes there are things that Kent says, and you're not really sure where he's going with things.
Yeah, but on the off chance that perhaps he heard this or somebody said that, you go into the pad and go, oh, so you think I'm an airhead, huh? Heard that this morning. I wouldn't say it either.
I say it lovingly because, I'm a huge fan of Kent. I really enjoy spending time around Kent DeSormo. And I've gotten the chance to do it many, many times. And I mean, I used to call him Kentisms sometimes because he would phrase things. I guess that's where I'm going. He would phrase things a certain way that only Kent DeSormo could do it. Only he could put it in those terms. And sometimes it took me a second to figure out what he was saying. But that's what makes Kent Kent.
Well, he was the very first rider that I had heard of because my first love in the sport was Real Quiet. So seeing his style and hearing from him was something that I got a taste of right away. And I can imagine that it was never a dull moment, I suppose, especially in those times. But if she wins today, it will not be a dull moment in that winner's circle.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I remember you talk about Real Quiet. I remember Kent riding my all-time favorite filly, Excellent Meeting, who was a John Mabie horse, Golden Eagle, and he was riding her in the Kentucky Derby. Bob Baffert trained her, and I was talking to him, and it was, I think, my first time ever meeting Kent DeSormo, and I asked him about her, and he said, "Oh yeah, man, she's the big nasty." He had that Cajun accent too, right? And and then we interviewed him after a race one time, and I think his comment was something along the lines of the gun was loaded, but there was no powder. So,
I can picture that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to stop and think for a minute, right, as to where he's going with some of these things. But the Hall of Famer has won more than 6,000 races. This would be one he would love to add to his resume with that win in the Pacific Classic later today. Almond Joy, Aggie Ordonez. It's a great story all around. We'll see if they can pull it off. 9:43 Eastern, 6:43 locally, the post time for the Pacific Classic, which is race number 10. Up next, we continue to talk about the Classic Day card. We'll do it with Daily Racing Forum's Steve Andersen. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Monmouth Park is your place to play this summer with a 15% takeout on all doubles and pick threes, including a $5 late double and a $3 late pick three. And don't miss these exciting upcoming handicapping contests. The $500 Monmouth Saratoga contest on Whitney Day, Saturday, August 8th, and the $800 Monmouth Saratoga contest on Travers Day, August 29th. Contests award a combination of BCBC seats, NHC seats, and cash. It's all happening at Monmouth Park.
Agriculture drives economic impact, and it has a powerful partner, the horse. Horses aren't just part of our heritage, they're a living force in Virginia's economy, contributing more than $2 billion every year, reaching far beyond the racetrack to power farms, jobs, and communities. From small stables to major events, horses sustain the rural heartbeat that built the state. Because when the horse industry is strong, agriculture thrives, and Virginia wins.
Live racing is back at Ellis Park Racing and Gaming. The 25-day summer racing season runs through August 23rd with racing every Friday through Sunday throughout the summer with a daily first post of 11:55 a.m. Central, featuring many of racing's top trainers and jockeys and a record $4.125 million stake schedule across 18 races, including the Summer Showcase weekend August 1st and 2nd and the Ellis Park Derby Day August 9th. You won't want to miss summer racing at Ellis Park. For more information, visit ellisparkowensborogaming.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
At the top of the lane in the big one, and Temple City in the white blinkers now puts his head in front. Immediately tackled by the usual QT. On the outside, here's Richard's Kid in the gold colours coming home. Gamely Crowded House is in there. Awesome Gem with a late run, and even better, Hastings. What Dakota Bone wide open. Richard's Kid looking to make it 2 in a row, and Richard's Kid strikes the front now from Crowded House, and Richard's Kid and Mike Smith have done it again. They've won the Pacific Classic.
Welcome back. Trevor Denman with the call of the 2010 running of the Pacific Classic. Won, as you just heard, by Richard's Kid under Hall of Famer Mike Smith. Back-to-back victories for Richard's Kid and Mike. And Mike Smith has won the Pacific Classic more than almost any jockey in history. He's won it 4 times. He's tied with Garrett Gomez for the top mark. And today, Subsanador can put Mike ahead of Garrett with a victory here. And we'll see if he can find a way to get it done for the Hall of Famer Richard Mandella. Steve Andersen is with the Daily Racing Forum, does an incredible job covering racing in Southern California, and he joins us now here on HRRN. Steve, appreciate the time.
Good morning. How's everything so far?
Everything is wonderful. Happy Pacific Classic Day.
Yeah, it's the best race day of the summer meetings at Del Mar. So in that regard, it's lived up to expectation with a very competitive race for the richest race of the season as well. It's disappointing, of course, that there's no journalism and NISOS in the field, but the rest of this race has come together very strongly, and I think it's a wide open group. So it'll be fascinating to see how it turns out this afternoon.
It is one of 4 greatest stakes races on the program, 2 win in your ins. Of course, the Pacific Classic, a win in your in. Let's go ahead and start with the Classic. We just heard in the previous segment, Steve, from Aggie Ordonez talking about Almond Joy, and that is one of the great storylines associated with this year's field. Tell me about a couple of others.
Well, as you mentioned just a moment ago, Subsanador is not without a chance. He will be slightly overlooked. There's several of them that'll be overlooked, too. Knightsbridge will get loads of attention off of his impressive win in the Monmouth Cup a few weeks back, and he's going to have a 1.25 mile test in this race, so that'll be interesting. Subsanador comes into the race with a bit of an excuse because he was last of 5 in the Hollywood Gold Cup at Santa Anita back in May, but he had a shoeing issue and didn't run very well on that one. He's been working very well since that race. So the Gold Cup in the eyes of Mandela is a throwout because the horse was basically wearing three shoes, and one of them was the other one was loose and hanging on by just one nail. So that could not have been very comfortable. But if you look back on Subsanador's workouts at Del Mar here in the last month, 6 furlongs, 1:11 and 4, 1 mile and 1:37 and 1. Back on August 6th between races was an impressive work, and then a quick work 5 furlongs and 58 and 4. On August 13th. So check marks in the workout department. The other thing that's interesting about him is the way the race may set up. Knightsbridge has shown speed. The Japanese horse Finger is quick. We've seen what Ford Steele can do when he races near the front. So when you put all that together, Smith may have Subsanador in a very favorable spot in this 1.25 mile race. And bear in mind that it was just less than 2 years ago that Subsanador won the Grade 1 California Crown, which is now known as the Grade 1 Goodwood, and was looked upon as a contender for that year's Breeders' Cup until he had an ankle injury in the build-up. So it wasn't that long ago that Subsanador was very close to the top of the group of the National Older Horse Division.
Well, an unusual member of the cast is the 3-year-old Japanese horse Finger, and I know that you got to talk to his connections, you got to do a little deeper dive on him because he arrived Sunday, I believe, via quarantine, right? What did you learn about him?
Well, the video research was fascinating. Not only are you looking at some races and race tracks that you don't typically look at on the second circuit in Japan, but this is a colt who is a forward colt. He's going to be in the group at the start, at the start near the lead, or secondly, he is going to be right behind the pace. If he sits right behind the pace of Ford Steele, he could be very dangerous in this race and overlooked too. He does like to finish. The race that he won in the Bluebird Cup back in January, which was for 3-year-olds, was a performance in which he did not take the lead. He stalked and he was wide throughout. In fact, if he'd lost, nobody would have faulted him for it. But instead, he did finish very well. So he was beaten by a decent rival in March in a race at 1 mile and 1/16, and he's won his last 2 starts at 1 mile and 1/4, and 1 mile and 8, and 1 mile and 1/4. So he'll be part of the group, and if he wins, not a surprise. If he runs way down the track, not a surprise. So I'm looking forward to watching Finger. It's a very, very sporting effort for them to bring him over here because there's a big $1 million race in Japan in a month that they could have run for 3-year-olds. That would have been a very logical spot too, but they've taken the chance to bring him over. He's a good-looking horse too. He's a gun runner colt. He's supposed to be a good-looking horse.
That's true. And he's just another element into a different kind of Pacific Classic. But there's plenty of eyes on horses in the morning out there. Who's been the buzz horse, not just in the Pacific Classic, but anywhere on the card? Who's been making the most waves in the morning?
Well, I think you're looking at Subsanador is getting a fair amount of attention, and I think there are some people that are impressed with Finger too. So those would be 2 of the ones that we look at as horses to follow in that race from that. I'm eager to see what Full Serrano can do in his 2nd 1.25 mile race of his career. He was beaten a half length by the upset winner Mixto in this race 2 years ago, and followed that by winning the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. He has not run since late March. He is the mount of Joel Rosario, who, as of today, is the leading rider of the meeting. But Full Serrano's 4th place finish in the Oaklawn Mile is hard to criticize because he had the most dreadful start. He stumbled for 2 strides coming out of the gate. I think dragged his nose through the mud, got up and split the field. So he's been working pretty well for Sadler. You talked about how Mike Smith's been one of the leading riders in the history of this race. Well, Sadler has 4 wins in the race in the last decade. So he knows how to prepare a horse to win this. So Full Serrano, who can be close but can also be slightly off the pace, is yet another runner who has merit in this field. And when you think about this for a minute, now I've nominated about 5 horses to win. This is a very, very tricky trifecta. This is a spread pick X race, no matter whether you're betting pick 4, pick 5, pick 3. Find the winner. Find the exacta. You're buying drinks.
Steve, we've talked about several horses. The one horse we haven't talked about yet is the morning line favorite, Knightsbridge, for Bill Mott. He's run 11 times. He's been worse than third just once in that 11-race career, so ultra consistent, and he comes out of that big win in the Monmouth Cup. How come we haven't talked about him yet?
Well, I did mention him in the context of perhaps being close to the front.
Sure.
But to elaborate on that, yes, the Monmouth Cup was a dazzling win. Skippy Longstocking was in the field, and as were three others. But and Knightsbridge took the lead, went to the front, and won as expected as a 1-2 shot. But the race that actually impressed me was the one before it at Saratoga, when he was second by 4 lengths to Nysos, when Nysos ran one of the finest races of his brief career. And Knightsbridge was part of the early pace in that race. He led briefly. He just couldn't keep pace, but he had a good group behind him, including Journalism, who ran third, and came back to win the San Diego Handicap. So and you mentioned that he bombed in the Churchill Downs Stakes back in May. But you look back on his 2 convincing wins earlier this year and at Christmas time at Gulfstream, going 7 furlongs at a mile. He's always handy for Junior Alvarado or Flavian Pratt. He can be very close. He can be just behind the pace. So Alvarado's going to have to do a very good tactical job in this field to not give away too much of Knightsbridge's energy from an outside post as the race unfolds past the stands the first time. So it's important that he rides a wise race, because they'll be chasing him. That's for sure. But he deserves to be favored. Does he deserve to be a short price? I don't know. They're going to look at that 10.25 number from the Monmouth Cup bettors will and go, wow. 122 Bauer is even stronger, but he's got to go out and do it again at a new distance.
You've laid out the complexity of the Pacific Classic and the reasons why maybe Knightsbridge is a vulnerable favorite in there, but there's a few other stakes races on the card. I mean, it's hard to get through everything in the short time that we have, but with the 3 other graded stakes that you have the Oaks, the Del Mar Mile. What other horses are jumping out at you in any of those 3 stakes races? And I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Who do you think is going to outrun their odds in any of those stakes?
I might look a little bit at Detain in the Del Mar Mile at the end of the day. I think the race is being run at about 10 p.m. Eastern, so you're not going to bed early back there, please, folks. But no, primetime racing. The Del Mar Mile drew a field of 12. It's a good group. It's led by King of Gosford, a Grade 1 winner. The group does not include Formidable Man, who won the Shoemaker Mile back in May. That horse is going to Kentucky Downs as of now. But that stable, that's trainer Michael McCarthy, and he has a horse called Detain, a 4-year-old Wooten Basset colt bred in Ireland, who has had 2 starts in the United States. He ran a pretty good third behind in a good allowance race at Santa Anita in June. Came back and won very handily in an allowance race here at Del Mar on July 17th on opening day. He was only beaten less than a length in the French Derby last June, a year ago. So he has loads of rights to improve. He's a closer. He should have some pace to follow in this field thanks to Cabo's Spirit. I think Detain is a horse to watch. Again, King of Gosford is a Grade 1 winner who won the Wicker Stakes here last month. So he has full credentials to continue with that success. But I would offer Detain as a horse to follow in the 11th race of today.
Steve, we've got about 2 minutes left before we have to get to a commercial break. Let me ask you about the other win you're in, the Green Flash Handicap, which is a 5-furlong turf sprint. What's the main storyline to keep an eye on there?
Well, it's amazing to see that Motorius has either won or been placed first in this race in the last 3 years, now going for a 4-timer, which you just don't see anymore in American racing. Horses that are that consistent that long. Last year he was second, but was promoted to first when Reef Runner was controversially disqualified. So that's turf history now. And now this is Motorius's second start of the meet. He ran a good second to Sumter, who's in this field and drawn to his inside. So those two, as coming from off the pace, should make a very entertaining race. The one that intrigues me a little bit in this field is called Mano Rose, unraced since mid-March for trainer Jeff Mullins. He's been a Calbred specialist in sprints on both surfaces over the last 2 years. He's very, very quick, and that may be a very good asset for him from post 3 because he's got some speed to his inside in a well-named horse called Monster, who ran third at Saratoga, and also will be a big factor in this race from the front. So I think Mana Rose, who can be handy, and Edwin Maldonado knows this gelding very well, might produce a surprise in there. But if they go too quick, if Monster and Mana Rose go too quick, runners such as Matorius and Sumter, particularly Sumter seems to be going pretty well this last few starts, beating a nose in the Daytona at Santa Anita, and now this, they'll be tough to beat. So looks like Sumter and Mana Rose are two alternatives to Matorius, who was an 8-year-old gelding going for a 4-timer.
All right, there you have it. Steve Andersen, Daily Racing Form. Steve, really appreciate the visit. Great stuff, and enjoy every second of that day out there.
Thank you very much. Look forward to visiting again. Thank you.
You got it, and you can follow Steve at DRF Andersen. That's Andersen. Steve Andersen at on X. And he keeps you up to date on all the great happenings in Southern California racing. Okay, when we come back, we'll take a look at a couple dates in racing history as they apply to this weekend and tell you what's coming up in Hour 3. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
I'm 54, so basically, it's too late to start saving for retirement, right?
Not right. Starting to save, even in your 50s, can really make a difference.
Well, right now, saving seems hard to wrap my head around. Plus, with the way this year's been going...
Hey, listen, it's okay. You still got this. Just go to aceyourretirement.org. It's an online tool from AARP that can help you get your retirement savings on track no matter your age. It's free and only takes about 3 minutes.
I like 3 minutes.
Yeah, at aceyourretirement.org, you'll chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach. Just answer a few questions and you'll get a personalized plan and tips to help boost your retirement savings. Tips that are easy to understand and tailored to your lifestyle.
I like that too.
Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Just head to aceyourretirement.org and make your plan to start saving for retirement.
Thanks.
That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Life is loud. It's also fun. Hearing Health Foundation wants us to listen responsibly so we can hear all the things we love for life. Did you know that decibels measure sound intensity? But we just need to know that if it sounds too loud, it is too loud. And this can permanently harm our hearing. And it's not just about the volume, it's also about the duration, or how long we're wearing headphones to listen to music or play video games. So let's enjoy the concerts, the nights out, and the time with friends by listening smart. Let's protect our ears with earplugs. Earplugs are cool. And let's rest our ears by taking breaks in quiet, and we can turn it down even a little to help save our hearing a lot. Hearing Health Foundation wants us to keep listening to the sounds we love for life. Learn more and get more tips at hhf.org/keep listening.
Did you receive a call or message that mentioned Social Security and demanded immediate action? Did the caller know your Social Security number or other personal information and tell you that your Social Security number had been used in connection with the crime? Did you feel worried that your Social Security number might be suspended, your bank account might be frozen or seized, or you could be arrested? That is not the Social Security Administration. Social Security will not threaten you, demand your personal information, or instant payment, email or text you pictures or documents, or use a real government official's name to gain your trust. Social Security does not accept payments by gift card, prepaid debit card, internet currency, or by mailing cash. Criminals use these forms of payment because they are hard to trace. Do not be fooled. Hang up. Ignore them. Report this criminal activity to the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General at oig.ssa.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Baron and Countess back with you on the Equine Forum, getting ready for Hour 3. Let's update you on the poll question. We're asking you The most impressive Pacific Classic performance of all time. Flightline winning by 19, Beholder by 8, Candy Ride with the record time of 1:59.11 or other. 57% of HRRN Nation saying it is Flightline. Leslie does comment on that poll and says Fierceness is the most impressive of all time. We have a couple of emails as it pertains to this question too, Angela. Excuse me. King responds and says, no doubt about it. It is Came Home, as he watched it with Chris McCarron being aboard that day. Came Home was really good.
Oh, wow. Yeah, back in the day, Came Home. I remember him. And he was one of those horses that just loved racing on the West Coast. I mean, if you went into his sandbox, good luck beating him. And his speed could put away many a Grade 1 horse in his time.
Couple of dates in racing history as they apply to this particular weekend in thoroughbred racing. The first one involves Big Red himself. It was August 22nd, 1972, that in preparation for his next start, which was the Hopeful on August 26th that year, he worked the half mile in 46 2/5. You think he was ready?
Yeah, what a different world to put a half mile work in between your 4 days. I mean, I guess it's just a different method of it, but he was sure sharp as a 2-year-old. And you couldn't imagine after that half mile working off the Hopeful that it would go the places that it did. But the very start for Big Red.
August 22nd, 1998 is the day that Hall of Fame trainer Woody Stevens passed away in Miami Lakes, Florida at the age of 84.
Now, that one's a very sad way to cap things off. I was just getting into the sport, and I saw Woody Stevens everywhere. We honor Woody Stevens, and I wasn't aware of who he was. That changed very quickly. Very sad loss that day, but he left his mark on the sport in many, many ways.
1,937 career victories for the great Woody Stevens. All right, 2 hours in the books. We got one more to go, including the TwinSpires Triple Play with James Scully, Kurt Becker Stroll Through Racing History presented by Keeneland, and I Ask They Answer with Dale and Tim at 10:30. All that coming your way next, right after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Game on, dude. Martin Garcia and Bob Baffert romp in the Pacific Classic. Doulahan, absolutely perfectly ridden by Joel Rosario. Doulahan up to beat Game on, dude. Beholder and Gary Stevens didn't win it. They romped in the Pacific Classic. One of the greatest performances you'll ever see. California Chrome in a canter. California Chrome, unbelievable. Flightline, 20 lengths clear. Flavion Pratt takes a hold and canters in the TVG Pacific Classic.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
And Royal Delta goes on to win the Alabama.
Malafat back in the win column as she takes the Alabama.
But today's the day for randomized. It's her coming out party in the Alabama.
It is Songbird, this magnificent filly, winning the Alabama.
Now here's Mike Penna and Angela Herman.
What a weekend of thoroughbred racing. We've been talking about it for 2 hours. We ain't done yet. One more hour to go. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, Angela Herman, the Countess of Canterbury. And we are ready to roll for the third hour of the program, talking about Del Mar, talking about Saratoga, and looking back on a memorable edition of the Pacific Classic 30 years ago. 1996, Cigar going westward, being defeated by the classy, nearly 40-1 long shot, Dare and Go. And we've been talking about it throughout the show. We'll continue to do so with Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History, remembering that race coming up at 10:20. 10:30, Dale and Tim will be with us for I Ask, They Answer. And, of course, the TwinSpires Triple Play momentarily with James Scully to kick things off. But, Angela, it has been a busy morning, and we are We have so much more to get to here in the third hour, and I love mornings like this.
3 hours never seem to be enough time in these summer months. We took things up to north of the border last week, and we've been focusing on the West Coast this week, and it seems like you can't cover enough races that are good and loaded with quality fields like this, but the Del Mar card is one of the best we've seen all summer, so 3 hours probably isn't even enough time for that card alone.
Time now to say hello to James Scully in this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. What's up, James?
Hello. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Angela. It's always a pleasure to be on with you guys. Thanks so much for having me on. And I just want to let everybody know out there, if you're playing the races today or this weekend and you're not a TwinSpires member, check it out. We have a great sign-up special. And if we have an offers page on our app and desktop that you can check out all the offers for various tracks. We got some terrific promos going today for Del Mar's big Pacific Classic card. I agree with y'all's sentiments completely. I love the entire card. But, check out TwinSpires because not only do we have great offers, and make sure you opt in, but we also have great handicapping contest tournaments being offered every day, multiple events for all different size budgets, different formats, and multiple, a lot of different tracks. So TwinSpires.com, check us out.
And you're going coast to coast with this week's Triple Play. The 3 races you have chosen: Saratoga Race 9, Del Mar Race 9, and Race 11. So let's get to it. Race 9 at Saratoga is a 1-mile main track allowance race, purse of $120,000. Interesting race, my friend. A lot of ways to go. Which way are you going?
Yeah, I'm going to take on. First off, I think that number 5 Stimulate's going to be bet down from 5-2 today. I think he'll be. There's a buzz about him just because he's by Tappet and out of the late. It was such a classy race mare for Belmont. But I like number 4 Freddie B to prove best in a second start back for Belmont. I really liked his maiden debut win. He was the longest shot on the board in a field of 6, and he broke well from a tough inside post going a mile that day, and was able to. He broke just fine, was able to stay in contact with the field, and was really courageous to prove best, rallying up the inside. Well, when he came back on July 19th, he came back in a race that I think is was a really tough allowance race for the level. The winner of that race, Georgia Magic, has created quite a stir with that win and his previous win. He just ran that field off their feet in a brilliant performance. The runner-up of the 4-year-old Iron Dome was a grade 3 runner-up and multiple restricted stakes winner, and loved Saratoga. And Freddie B just walked out of the gate. He wasn't ready for the start. He got off that bad start, and he ran well for third. He did. He outfinished the rest in there, and that was a pretty nice field, and that's why he was 10-1 off that debut maiden win. I think he's going to improve off that race. He's come back and worked some bullets for Kim McPeak, and I'm just this kind of 3-year-old that McPeak does well with, who has upside. And part of my rationale in here is because he's 6-1 on the morning line, and I think he's eligible to be that because I'm going to take a little bit of stab against Stimulate's maiden win. First off, it came on a sloppy track on July 19th where they got a bunch of rain after the first race. And by the latter part of that card, it was hard to close on. And the top 4 finishers in that race, with the exception of Stimulate and the runner-up Gadget Play, switching spots on the far turn, ran 1, 2, 3, 4 the entire way. It was a merry-go-round race, and it came over a sloppy track. And it's going to be fast today at Saratoga, I think there's just some other options in here besides the favorite, and I like Freddie B, number 4, Freddie B, the best of the group.
I love it. I love it where he's drawn, the odds, everything that you've brought forward with him. And I'm glad that you mentioned contests. I'm going to be in some contests this weekend. And for contest players, if they're looking for a horse to go with 6-1 Freddie B, maybe in an exacta, who would you maybe throw in there for a flyer to make it pay?
For a flyer to make it pay, number 7, Enforced Agenda. I thought that, I went back and watched that Jerome effort again when I was looking at this race initially, because he broke his maiden pretty nicely at first asking. Once again, they come out at a mile distance and win first out. That's usually a pretty good indicator that you have some ability. And he just had a terrible start from the rail in the Jerome. He didn't break well. He broke towards the space inside the starting gate, and it hurt him that day. But he still, I thought, tried to get back in the race, made a little bit of a mental move, and I think he has some quality to him, and potentially still for George Weaver. So I like seeing those works too. So that was a horse that I marked, definitely in Forced Agenda if I was looking for some value in any kind of vertical exotics. But it'll be interesting to see what Cocktails and Kringles does, because he's going to bring a lot of speed to the race. And you can count on number 6, Silver Talent. He's another horse I looked at. I just, if he can get a race, if they go 48-3 in like he did in his second start, he's okay. But right now, he just needs to find some ability to not be such a one-run plotter. So he's another horse that's in with a chance if he gets the right setup. But I'm looking at him as more underneath vertical exotic type horses.
James, you mentioned watching the replay of the Jerome as you were handicapping this race. How much time do you spend going through replays of previous races when you're handicapping any card?
A lot. I mean, I spend a lot of time, I watch them pretty quick, and I'm pretty good at pulling them up, but hours maybe,
Wow.
I looked at this Del Mar.
So how long does it take you to handicap a card?
Well, not maybe just one card, hours of video, but it's going to take me a little bit of time. It just depends on how deep I'm going. One thing about it is that especially at this time of year, the 2-year-old races don't take nearly as much work, and I'll be using some 2-year-old races in multi-race kind of plays, and every once in a while I see a 2-year-old that I like because I'll glance at the races that I like for one reason or another, but generally I'm staying away from those races. They're just too much of a toss-up, and I can draw a better opinion based on trips. And the most important thing to me is numbers. And then I like to put trip handicapping into the equation, as well as other factors.
I'm going to need your help in trip handicapping for sure, because there's some replays that I have not viewed from overseas in the 9th at Del Mar, and that's we go for the next leg of the triple play. The 1 1/8 Del Mar Oaks is going to come up at about 6 o'clock local time out there. This is an interesting group of 3-year-old fillies, and you do have some overseas fillies that are going to make their first or second starts in the U.S. So where do you go in here?
Well, I'm going to go with a U.S.-based filly that I think has enormous upside to her. I still think she has a high ceiling, and that's number 10, Rating Party. But just talking about these Euro horses, let me just say I think her main rival in here is number 4, Green Carrera, who I think is going to get bet down to favoritism over Kensington Lane, who's the morning line favorite. And it's just simply because of these races that she had, especially 2 back in that Sandrington handicap at Royal Ascot. That's a race that had a really nice field in it. And, that was a big handicap at Royal Ascot that it was a 3-year-old filly handicap, but it was a race that a lot of people try to aim for, and it had a 30-horse field. And she got a 122 Brisnet class rating, which just sort of lays over these rivals, or lays over Kensington and Define a little bit in terms of their overseas numbers. So she's in with a chance, but I like Rating Party. I really liked her debut win at Keeneland last fall. I came away impressed that it was it was better than it looks on paper. She came back this year and I thought it just, was too far back in her first start, and that was a nice group in there. And then I really liked her win at Churchill in early June. And last time out in that set, but it was still a lot. I mean, she had won 2 of her first 3 starts by open lengths, but they were maidens and entry level allowances. And Brendan Walsh shipped her out west for the San Clemente. She was like 4-1 on the morning line. I picked her. I was going to bet her, and then she was up there at less than 2-1 on the toe board. And so to me, she was a little overbet in that spot. But given that she had to overcome the rail post and her inexperience showed, I thought, I thought Bryn Curtis had a little bit of trouble like navigating her on the far turn. And then once she started navigating in, going into the far turn, and then once she got going near the end of the far turn, he swung her so ridiculously wide. I mean, she was widest of all, and that entire field at one point was practically in the mix in the San Clemente. So, she gained a just ton of experience in season that she very needed, being a lightly raced young horse, and she's going to improve off of it. So she's going to be a better price than the other main contender, and I'm going to go with Rating Party as a filly with big upside for Brendan Walsh.
Definitely see the upside with a filly who's only started 4 times. And I want to get your opinion in general, because you did touch on some of the Europeans earlier, about European horses coming over at this time of year, maybe getting ready for the Breeders' Cup. I mean, how do you rate them as compared to some of the horses that have maybe been imported earlier in the year? Do you give them more of a chance?
Yes. I just think at face value, they're a little bit better, we're generally talking about stakes rate horses that are shipping over and probably at all levels, but just generally they're a little bit, they have better quality and more depth over there. And we've seen them have a lot of success at Saratoga this meet. I mean, we've seen this mare Servy, she jumped up and beat males in the grade 1 Christophe Clement, Kensington Lane. The favorite in that race blew the start in this Belmont Oaks, and she had speed, and she rushed up and pushed Kensington Lane through an early 23 and 1, I don't have it here in front of me, quarter mile. And then the jock just took a hold of her and the other rival, and Kensington Lane went almost 25 and a half seconds for her second quarter. Her third quarter was real slow once again. I mean, she got away with a dream trip in a sense, considering how fast the opening quarter was on the toe board. And I just don't think she's going to get that trip in here. I think there's more speed signed on. And a filly, though, that I have to respect a little bit is Tam Tam. That was a good race last time, and she settled better, I thought, that she had in previous races. There was an argument to be made after the Edgewood that her best races were when she was up close to the lead. But Phil Bauer, argued that she didn't have to have the lead. And, I think she is getting better in a sense off of that Tepin win. So, I'm going to go Rating Party, and I would use Tam Tam or use Green Carrera and Tam Tam as alternate if I'm playing the Del Mar Oaks in any multi-race wagers.
The final leg of the TwinSpires triple play you have chosen this morning, James, comes at Del Mar, just like race 9, but now we move to race 11, the grade 2 Del Mar Mile, purse of $300K, 1 mile on the turf course. Really solid race.
Yeah, really solid race. And I'm glad you brought up that Euro point, Angela, because I'm going to hit some points right here with number 5, Detain. He's my top pick. He's listed at 10-1 for Michael McCarthy and Juan Hernandez. And listen, I'll just say this. I think that number 9 of the U.S. horses, with most of the field, is the horse to beat, King of Gosford. I really respect his chances for top California. Heck, he's a top trainer nationally on the turf, Phil D'Amato. And you get Umberto Rispoli's up, a top jock at this meet. But Detain is a horse that early in his career, he needed a little time to come along. And then when they was coming along, they tried him at a mile and 5/16 in the Prix de Jockey Club, the Group 1, last summer. and he ran a close third. And off of that race, they kept him at distances in his next two races, and he just didn't run that well, even though he got bet down. So they cut him back to a mile in his last overseas start, the Group 2 Joel Stakes at Newmarket. And let me tell you guys, that was a top-class performance. The runner-up in that race, Opera Bauer, just ran third to Bo Echo in the great Group 1 Sussex Stakes. And that race was, and he's arguably the top older miler in Europe right now, because the top two in that race, Bo Echo and Gustave, are both 3-year-olds. So he got beat neck that day. Detained dead. The mile distance is a perfect fit for him. He needed a race back, and believe me, that was like a allowance race, a condition allowance. But both the winner and the runner-up in there had stakes experience. Ironman Cal was a Grade 1 runner-up earlier in his career, and Detain really improved off that race last time. That was a really sharp performance. I believe that this 4-year-old colt has a really high ceiling in the U.S., like turf mile stakes race for Michael McCarthy. And this is a time to play him, because he might not be 10-1. He was, 6-5 last time, but he's still not going to be, very short. And so you're getting leading rider. A lot to like about I think Hernandez, he might be second now to Rosario, but it's close. There's a lot to like about the Tane.
Let's recap the triple play. And that started with Saratoga, race 9. Your top pick in there, number 4, Freddie B, morning line 6-1. Race 9 at Del Mar, leg 2, the Del Mar Oaks. You went with the number 10, Raiding Party. And in race 11 at Del Mar, the Del Mar Mile, your selection in here, number 5, Detain. 4, 10, and 5 for James in the triple play today.
And once again, Mike and Angela, no chalk zone from me. That's my approach to my picks on here. So going to try to get some winners this afternoon.
Yeah,
all right, James, appreciate it, my friend. Good luck at the windows, and we will do this again in a few weeks.
All right, sounds good. Thanks so much, Mike and Angela. Best of luck to both of y'all.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, and don't forget, you can catch James Scully with Bobby Newman every Thursday on our Brisnet.com call-in show. Lively show last night. You can go back and check out the podcast on our website, horseracingradio.net, or you can do it on your favorite podcast platform. Angela, time to update the Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question.
All right, everybody, get your mojo working. You're going to need it for this one. It is Pacific Classic trivia. Who was the only gray or roan colored horse to ever win the Pacific Classic? No Googling of any sort. Get your mojo working.
Answer comes your way at the end of the show, right around 10:55 Eastern. Up next, Kurt Becker takes you on his weekly stroll through racing history, looking back at the 1996 Pacific Classic. Dale and Tim still to come, 10:30 Eastern, with I Ask, They Answer. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
You're listening to HRRN, Horse Racing's Voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Join us at Kentucky Downs August 29th through September 9th, showcasing 7 days of racing with $37 million in purses, including $17.9 million in KTDF purses for Kentucky breds and the $3 million Nashville Derby on Saturday, September 5th. America's richest and only all-turf meet, hosting 2 Breeders' Cup win and you're in races. Reserved seats on sale at themintkentuckydowns.com. There's unique and there's Kentucky Downs.
Get ready for the biggest night of the year at Charlestown on Friday, August 28th. It's the Grade 2 $1 million Charlestown Classic and the Grade 2 $750,000 Charlestown Oaks, the richest sprint race for 3-year-old fillies in North America. The spectacular card features 9 stakes races worth over $2.7 million. The action gets started with a special first post time of 5 o'clock Eastern. It's the Grade 2 Charlestown Classic and Grade 2 Charlestown Oaks on Friday, August 28th here at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races.
Live racing is back at Ellis Park Racing and Gaming. The 25-day summer racing season runs through August 23rd with racing every Friday through Sunday throughout the summer with a daily first post of 11:55 a.m. Central, featuring many of racing's top trainers and jockeys and a record $4.125 million stake schedule across 18 races, including the Summer Showcase Weekend August 1st and 2nd and the Ellis Park Derby Day August 9th. You won't want to miss summer racing at Ellis Park. For more information, visit ellisparkowensborogaming.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Hello, I'm Kurt Becker. Thanks for joining me as I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. It was 30 years ago this month that Cigar made a bid for history, attempting to become the first horse to win 17 consecutive races in the modern era in North America, but it was not meant to be. Today we look back at the 6th running of the Pacific Classic held August 10th, 1996 at Del Mar. Cigar, a Maryland bred, which at the time was 6 years of age, was a homebred son of Palace Music, racing for Alan Paulson from the barn of trainer Bill Mott. He had matched Citation's modern-day record of 16 straight wins with a victory in the $1 million Arlington Citation Challenge in Chicago, continuing a string which had begun with a move from turf to dirt on October 28, 1994. Naturally, every time we get a little bigger load on our shoulders to keep it going, said Mott, following the record-tying performance. But we know that if we get Cigar there in good shape, he's going to take care of the rest. There had been 9 racetracks in 4 time zones during Cigar's incredible run of victories, including a triumph against an international field in the Dubai World Cup. It had made Cigar the richest North American racehorse of all time at $8.8 million and had prompted comparisons with immortals of the sport, even Secretariat. Cigar's jockey Jerry Bailey said, quote, "I'm not an emotional guy, but it makes me want to cry every time I ride this horse. If a guy couldn't get attached to Cigar, he's made of stone," end quote. As for comparisons to giants of past eras, Mott said of Cigar, quote, "Whether he wins or loses, he has nothing to prove to us. You can't compare horses from different generations, so you cannot say how he compares with Citation or Secretariat. He is the best horse I have ever trained," end quote. While most eyes were focused on Cigar, trainer Richard Mandella was prepping a 5-year-old Kentucky-bred son of Alydar named Dare and Go for the Pacific Classic. A homebred racing for brothers Alain and Gerard Wertheimer, Dare and Go had been a 2-time stakes winner in France before returning to North America in the summer of 1994. Dare and Go had been a turf-to-dirt success story of his own, rattling off 3 consecutive Grade 1 placings on the turf for Mandella in the U.S. before switching to dirt and winning the Grade 1 Stroop Stakes at 1.25 miles at Santa Anita early in 1995. But a hairline fracture of a left leg would leave him sidelined for the rest of that 1995 campaign. Upon returning to the races early in 1996, Dare and Go would win a minor stakes at Santa Anita for his only victory in 5 starts through July. Alex Solis had ridden him to that lone triumph, and Solis would be aboard once again as the horses entered the track at Del Mar on August 10, 1996 for the $1 million Pacific Classic. 6 horses headed to the gate that day, with each carrying 124 pounds for the 1.25 mile journey. The track was fast, and there was a record Del Mar crowd of 44,000. It was a crowd which had bet Cigar down to 10 cents on the dollar. Dare and Go, by comparison, was 39-1. As for the race itself, turf rider Jay Hovde said Cigar went too fast, too early, under too much pressure, leaving him vulnerable to attack from behind. And Dare and Go chose this day to run the race of his life. Trevor Denman gives us the call.
Dare and Go's going to look for the upset. Cigar takes the lead. Dare and Go's got Dead Aim on him. Cigar's got a dip deep. He's had a run very fast early and he can find. And Dare and Go has gone right on by Cigar. A 16th of a mile to go. And you can never underestimate a classy horse. And this is one classy guy on his day. Dare and Go. And Alex Solis win the Pacific Classic. Cigar ran his heart out but has to settle for second.
Dare and Go won in an $81 upset, while Cigar was defeated, bringing to an end the longest winning streak in the recent history of sport. Hovde noted that Cigar had been pressured by Dramatic Gold and then siphoned, forcing 6 furlongs in 109.1 and a mile in 1 minute 33 3/5 seconds. It was simply too much speed and stamina for Cigar to overcome. Mott agreed, saying, "For all of the things in our favor, what beat us was the pace." Bailey added, "Maybe I thought there was nothing Cigar couldn't overcome. I'm disappointed in the outcome, but I'm not disappointed in him." As Hovde put it, Cigar's spirit was willing, but his flesh was weak. As for Dare and Go, his time of 1 minute 59 4/5 seconds for the 10 furlongs was just 2/5 of a second off the track record. He drew clear that day to win by 3.5 lengths. Dare and Go would be retired for stud duty at Vinery in Midway, Kentucky, following the 1996 racing season. He would sire 172 foals from 5 crops, including 5 stakes winners. Following the win in the Pacific Classic, Mandela said, quote, "The only way you keep a horse from getting beat is not run them. And I've got to hand it to Cigar's people. They don't hide. I'm just glad Dare and Go finally had a chance to show what a good horse we knew he could be." End quote. Please join me again next week when I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. For HRRN, I'm Kurt Becker.
Thanks, Kurt, for that story. And remember, all of Kurt's Stroll Through Racing History segments are available via podcast on our website. And don't miss our Weekend Stakes preview show with Bobby Newman and Bob Nastanovich, which is also available right now at horseracingradio.net. I Ask, They Answer with Dale and Tim coming up next. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
This is HRRN, where racing comes to talk.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
A Keeneland session topper from the first crop of the all-conquering Vekoma. Jonathan's Way was touted by purchaser John Moynihan as, quote, one of the best-looking horses you'll ever lay your eyes on. Out of an undefeated stakes-winning juvenile daughter of Indian Charlie, Jonathan's Way is a complete outcross through his first 5 generations and comes from the immediate female family of the great Dynaformer. Brilliantly talented with the pedigree and physical makeup to be commercial dynamite. Jonathan's Way, a future stallion star, standing at Airdrie Stud. Think about it.
Colonial Downs summer racing season is here with a new schedule featuring live racing every Thursday through Sunday. Host time 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Back is our popular 12% takeout pick 5 offered twice daily, and play the all-new $3 late pick 3 with a 15% takeout. Don't forget, closing day will be Labor Day, Monday, September 7th with the Grade 3 Old Dominion Derby. Colonial Downs, the next era in racing.
When it's time to paint the fences and barns, think Farm Paint. At Farm Paint, you get the industry's best coatings and paints factory direct at low, low prices. Farm Paint is your source for quality paints, roof coatings, dustless arena footings, and more. You can purchase online or drop into a Farm Paint store near you with locations in Heart of Bluegrass Country at 700 Phillips Lane in Lexington, Kentucky, Columbus, Ohio, and Sandusky, Ohio. Buy factory direct and save at farmpaint.com. That's farmpaint.com.
This is I Ask, They Answer on the Equine Forum on HRRN.
Cigars in front. Dare and Go with a white cap is now looming a danger. Dare and Go's going to look for the upset. goal. Then Lucia Fever finish last.
30 years ago, Trevor Denman had that call of Darren Go ending Cigar's 16-race win streak. Today, we look back on some of the most legendary streaks in racing history. Plus, what's next for the racing industry following Heiss's accusations of owner Marshall Graham? And how do Dale and Tim feel about racetrack promotions like the Corky Cup? Those topics and much, much more are straight ahead with trainer Dale Romans and turf rider Tim Wilkin on this week's edition of I Ask They Answer, presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. And it all starts just 30 seconds from right now.
A spark turns into a dream, and your dreams fuel a love that will last a lifetime. Turn your passion into a career with experienced guidance, a thorough study of equine business, as well as opportunities to get your hands dirty and put your mind to work. Located in the heart of horse country, let your passion fuel your profession at the U of L Equine Industry Program. Apply today.
All right, guys, we begin with the story that dominated the headlines this week, and it's going to do so for weeks to come. Marshall Graham, a founding partner and owner of 10 Strike Racing, has been accused by Heissa of deliberately misappropriating confidential horse health information from the Heissa portal. And the news is obviously incredibly bad for racing on a number of levels. So I'm going to ask you, and Dale, I'll start with you. Where should the racing industry go from here after this incident?
You know, there's always going to be people doing stuff they shouldn't be doing, and he got caught. That's a good thing. I think she should turn it over to the FBI. I don't know about racing as a whole, but I think the fact that you catch people that are trying to cheat should be a deterrent in the future for anybody who's wanting to. I think, using it for gambling is bad, but using it to claim other people's horses is even worse. I mean, it's privileged information. We put all our vet records in a portal. Everybody has their own codes to get to their records. ISSA sees them. They have them for a reason. You know, there's rules around medications, and there's rules around joint injections. We can't work back for 7 days. They want to know when you gave the injections. You can't run back for 14 days, different things like that. But if you're looking in there and claiming people's horses and you have inside information, it should be criminal, I would think. And I hope that they turn it over to the FBI and let them investigate and see where it goes.
Yeah, the investigation will be ongoing for a long time to come now. There is a lot more that's going to come out in this situation, I'm sure, on both sides of the fence. Dale, let me ask you this question. Can Heissa be trusted now to fulfill their mission statement moving forward? Is your confidential information safe with Heissa?
As much as it can be, I think that all information and anything we do, there's chances of someone scamming or hacking. And, you know, I would trust in them. They caught the guy. He got caught. I mean, I'd be more worried about the news that doesn't come out that somebody's getting away with something. At least they caught him. They stopped him. They tightened up their protocol. And, he just absolutely hacked the thing. It's the information I'm getting. And if you're going to break the law and you get caught, you do the time. Don't do the crime if you don't do the time. You know, everybody's coming down on Heissa and stuff, but at least the guy got caught cheating. He might have been. There were other portals he could get into with veterinarian records, and he could have hacked them too, probably. But at least since it was Heissa, they caught him.
Yeah, allegedly. Let's keep that in mind right now because this is still an ongoing investigation. So, Tim, your thoughts?
Well, now this guy isn't an idiot. I mean, he's an economics professor at Rhodes College. He teaches a specialized course on racetrack wagering markets. I mean, he's no dummy. I mean, he was smart enough to hack into this system. So obviously, racing as a whole, the Jockey Club, they got to take immediate structural steps to safeguard the future, don't they? I mean, if this guy is able to get in it, who else? I mean, there's other guys that could probably do it too. It's a sad commentary. This is a guy that is involved in the sport, and he's doing this cheating to enhance himself and all. He was in a betting contest. I think he won one up here at Saratoga on Belmont Week. This guy is a fraud. They should throw the book at him and put him in jail. I mean, that's when you tamper with something like this, it's a bad look for the sport from the outside. And this guy is he's the public enemy number one now in horse racing, and he should get the book thrown at him. And it's his fault what he did, and he's got to do the time. He's got to pay for this. It was a bad thing, and But the thing is, if he's able to hack it, there's a lot of computer nutbags out there that can probably do the same thing.
Okay, so to take this a step further with, obviously, the accusations against him, bad. And he's saying that there's security protocols that need to be put in place. Okay, that's fine. But to the public, it looks like each side is a bit wrong in this situation. And how do you think that horse racing goes about correcting that reputation to the public to make it look right again, and for us to think that we can trust the systems put in place to govern racing?
Criminals are always one step ahead of the law. Let's say that. And yes, we need to do whatever they can to make sure that it's secure. The site is very secure.
Yeah.
But
put a big old padlock.
There's always criminals out there. Let's don't forget, he's the bad guy.
Yeah. Horse racing didn't do anything wrong.
Whether he says the door was unlocked or he could pick the lock, well, that's one thing. But you still don't pick the lock just because you can't.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right. Well, again, this
people that rob banks aren't the banks aren't at fault, right? They got robbed, and horse racing got robbed on this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, Marshall Graham allegedly hacking into the system, and this is going to play out in the courts and I'm sure in the court of public opinion, certainly, but in the courts as we move forward over the course of the next several weeks and months. This is not going away. It's going to continue to be a story, and we'll continue to talk about it here on the show. Angela, topic number 2, a completely different type of subject, but it's a really cool anniversary.
Right, exactly. This one probably won't have too many differing opinions, but let's see what you two think of this one. This marks the 30-year anniversary of Darren Go ending Cigar's 16-race win streak with his victory over him in the 1996 Pacific Classic. Which of the following legendary win streaks was the most impressive? Cigar's 16, Personal Ensign's perfect 13 for 13, or Zenyatta's 19 consecutive? Tim, we'll go to you first.
All three of them were ultra impressive, but if I have to pick one, I'm taking Cigar. All the travel he did, the weight he carried, open company. I think he raced in New York and Florida and California, Arkansas, Massachusetts, Illinois, went to Dubai, carried 130 pounds. I think if I'm not mistaken, if my research is right, I believe he beat 22 Grade 1 winners during the streak. He had a phenomenal record. He became a cult hero in a way. I'm taking Cigar, but a close second would be Personal Ensign for me.
Yeah, I'm a Personal Ensign fan. I've said it several times on this show, and I'll take her unbeaten streak, 13 for 13. She broke her back leg as a 2-year-old. He didn't expect her to ever run again. They put pins in it. Shug did a great job managing her career. She beat the Derby winner in the Breeders' Cup at Churchill Downs on the greatest Breeders' Cup day I think we ever had. And she was just an outstanding filly. I told the story before. Randy Romero used to tell me he was a good friend when he rode Personal Ensign in that last race. He said he was loading into the gate, and he hears the announcer say, Personal Ensign trying to retire undefeated. He said he just wanted to find a place to hide, and it looked like she was dead beat. She was dead beat at the quarter pole and gets up and nails winning colors, the Derby winner on the wire to stay undefeated. And I was there that day. Maybe that's why I'm such a fan of hers, but I'll always be a big Personal Ensign fan.
Well, these are three of the best that have ever done it, and those streaks will stay in history forever. But which were you guys most shocked to see come to an end? Personal Ensigns didn't come to an end, but which was more shocking to you, Cigar or Zenyatta?
Well, it had to be Cigar. Zenyatta was running against the boys when hers came to an end, and she was, she still ran a bang-up race. So I would say the most shocking would have to be Cigars.
Yeah. I don't think anyone expected him to lose the Pacific Class to what, Darren Go, was it?
Yep.
Yeah. When he was going out there, I think everyone was ultra shocked that he got beat because he just won everywhere, and he won a lot of them very, very easily. I mean, he was toying with most of these fields, and I think most people expected him to toy with that field out in California. But as they always say, every horse gets beat, and he got beat that day. But I was surprised, absolutely. I remember, just to tell you a quick story, I was on a local TV station here before that race, and I said, "There's no way Cigar is going to lose that Pacific Classic, and if he does, I'll come in and serve ice cream to your whole staff at 11 o'clock," which I had to do.
You didn't follow through on that? Or you did?
I
okay.
walked right in there with it was a quart of vanilla ice cream and gave it to them all.
Okay.
A quart. That's not enough.
There was only four of them. I mean, I didn't.
Ice cream.
It was Stewart's ice cream.
Yeah,
I left it all for them, so they could give it to the camera people. They could scrounge for the rest of it, but I just gave it to the anchors.
Tim, why am I not shocked you went with vanilla?
It was the only thing they had. They were out of everything else. I wasn't going to get butterscotch.
A win streak like that deserves a better end, Tim, but that's okay. We're going to go from the past and we're going to go right to the present for topic 3 and talk with our friend Nick Zito.
Yep, and Dale and Tim get to tell me if the following statement is right or wrong.
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right or wrong?
Jose Ortiz continues to lead the way in the Saratoga jockey standings over Manny Franco. Jose is going to ride the Travers, then head back to Kentucky Downs, but his agent Steve Rushing said he will return to ride at Saratoga late in the meet, maybe right around that closing weekend. Manny Franco is staying the entire meet. Is it right or wrong to think that Jose will build a big enough lead and hold off Manny Franco to win the title?
What do you think? Right or wrong?
Tim, right or wrong?
This is kind of a tough one, right? As we're recording this on Friday, Jose has a 59-47 lead over Manny. He's got another week to go. You would think that he's going to at least hold on to that lead, but Manny Franco is coming. He's like a title away. He's coming. And a lot of people think he might be the hottest jockey up here right now. He's riding great. And he's going to have several days to cut into that lead. I think Jose's going to hold on to win it because he's only going to come back and ride one day, I think September 4th. Manny's going to give it everything he's got. And, he's going to pick up a lot of these riders. It's not just Jose and Irada that are going. Flavian Pratt's going. I think Syed is going. There's a lot of riders that are going down to Kentucky Downs. Manny might be picking up plenty of red-hot mounts. So I think he's going to cut into the lead. I don't think he gets all the way home.
Yeah, I think Jose will be able to hold on. Manny's winning in bunches, though, and he's benefiting from Irad being on the sidelines, I'm sure. He had to pick up some of those mounts, and he is winning in bunches and riding like a man possessed. But I think Jose, he's going to keep on winning. He'll probably open up a little bit, and he'll be able to stagger home.
Guys, let me give a little love to our man Nick Zito, whose voice is included in this segment every single week here on I Ask, They Answer. Nicky doesn't have the numbers he once had. I think we all agree with that. He doesn't win as many races as he used to. But last week, he got his first win of the season. Win number 1 this year. He's 1 for 44 now. And then on Thursday this week, he came within a neck of winning number 2. So Nick Zito heating up. The guy has not forgotten how to train a racehorse.
The only thing Nick Zito's missing is good horses in his barn.
Yeah.
If he had the same horse, he'd still be winning like he used to.
Yep.
That's my man, Nick. He's as good as he ever was.
Yeah, he's. I was visiting with him in the winner's circle after that race, and he had the ear-to-ear grin on his face, and it was good to see him get a win. And, we all root for him to get another big horse. Hopefully it comes.
Nick Zito is good for racing, and it's great to see him back in the winner's circle. No doubt about it. Okay, Sean in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania has our next topic. I think, Angela, this one should go to you. Why don't you go ahead?
Yes, being the countess of the track, all things dog races. You know, we don't just have the corgis, we have beagles, we have all kinds of races. But in light of last weekend's corgi races at Saratoga, Sean wants to know your guys' thoughts on these type of promotions. Emerald Downs has hosted grandparents races, which proved to be a big hit. Dog races are popping up all over the country. So, do you guys like, love, or hate when racetracks put together these special types of promotions? Dale, let's start with you.
That bores me, but it's all right. If the crowd likes it, go ahead and show it. Watch a bunch of dogs run down the racetrack. They're running all over the place. But anyway, it is what it is.
How about grandparents, Dale? Would you like that?
That one was interesting. Yeah, I didn't know about that one. But I've seen some crazy stuff. I just told you before on here. My favorite was Chris Collinsworth racing a horse a 16th of a mile. And he broke good, but he didn't finish as good.
I mean, I'd be worried about the grandparents there. I wouldn't want to see one of them keel over, you know. And
I'm sure they have a defibrillator there.
I wouldn't want to see the blue screen come out for any of them.
Jeez.
But
they took all proper precautions.
But, I mean, you know, when they have these kind of events like this, there might be people that are just coming to see that, but then they kind of get hooked on the racing when they see that too. So I think if it brings more fans into the game and they become horse racing fans, I'm all for it.
How many people are coming out to watch old people run around or run down the track?
Huh?
How many people come out just to watch old people run down the track?
No,
They're family members.
I think they do. They come out. It's like going to a hockey game. They want to see a fight. They want to see an old person fall down.
Right. The one I hate the most is the ostrich racing, when they put the ostriches out there and the jockeys trying to stay on their back. Yeah.
Well, Dale, do you remember when Andre the Giant wrestled the grizzly bear?
Yeah, that was at Rockingham Park. You remember that? He body slammed him.
Yeah.
Would you count that as probably the best promotion that you've seen at any racetrack to try to get people in the door?
That'd probably be by far the best, yeah.
Tim, do you agree, or do you have something even better than Andre the Giant and a grizzly bear?
I can tell you an Andre the Giant story, but it's not for family radio when I first met him. But we'll have to keep that one for another day.
Well, Sean in Chambersburg, it's a really fun question. We appreciate it. Tom in St. Louis has an interesting one too, guys. He says, with White Barrio now retired to stud, he wants to know what happens with his goat friend, Brownie, who served as his companion to keep him calm during the latter part of his racing career. Does Brownie get a new home alongside White Barrio at Gainesway, or does he stay with the Saffie Joseph barn? Dale, why don't you take it?
He went with him.
Yeah.
Oh, he did?
I heard he stays with him. He's got his own groom. They got 4 little bandages to put on him, and his own groom takes care of him, and he'll be well fed and taken care of for the rest of his life.
When White Barrio got on the van to go to Gainesway, Brownie got on the same van. He went with him.
That's fantastic. I did not know that.
Yeah, they're together for all time.
That's great. Cool. That's great. Yeah, that is really cool. Okay, time to give you an update on the Showdown 5 competition. Last week we had no runners, so the standings have not changed. Angela has the lead 37-27 over me. Tim, you're in third with 20 points. Dale has 19. And you both have horses running at Saratoga later today. Dale has Powerline in race 3, that maiden special weight event. Tim, you have Counting Stars, the heavy favorite in the Alabama. So things could change after those 2 races later today.
Yeah, I'll give me 10 on that. Might as well just pencil it in right now.
I just want to go on record as I got bored with this competition, so I didn't really try hard this year.
Wow! Thanks for leaving me with all the winning horses, Dale. I appreciate that.
Yeah, but Dale, if you somehow miraculously become in front, then you said you're going to say you were interested in it.
Well, when I get to the lead, my attitude might change.
Well, of course it will. I know you too well.
I can see Dale putting in a Keen Ice-like rally to run everybody down on Breeders' Cup Saturday.
Could happen.
My whole team is set for Breeders' Cup weekend, so enjoy your times in front of me.
We better enjoy it while it lasts.
All right, you can follow along with the scoring and the Showdown competition. See all of our teams at horseracingradio.net. Time for our final point of the week. Tim Wilkin, do the honors.
Well, it's Alabama Day today at Saratoga, and it really should be the personal playground of Counting Stars, who has clearly established herself as the best 3-year-old filly in the country. And, Mark Cassie's got a phenomenal barn this summer up here. He's got the favorites right now for 3-year-old filly and older fillies division with Nitrogen. So, you got to tip your hat to Mark and the job he's done with his barn this summer.
He's done a great job. Mark always does well. My friend since we were kids. I want to say congratulations, Larry Lucas, opening the first racetrack in Kentucky since Kentucky Downs, and they had a great opening day with the quarter horses, and good job, Larry. There was a lot of work put into getting that place up and going.
Yeah, it's awesome to see it. Dale, Tim, appreciate it, guys. We'll do this all over again next Saturday.
All right, guys. Talk to you later, girls.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Angela.
All right.
If you have a topic you want to hear Dale and Tim discuss, you can email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net, and Angela and I will do our best to work it in going forward. I Ask the Answer is presented by the University of Louisville, Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. We're back with more, including the answer to this week's Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question. That's next on the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
Here we go.
Come on, boys. Good luck. And they're off. Be part of the story. Own the moment. Go to MojoRacingPartners.com to get your mojo working.
Here's today's STEM tip. Don't throw out that old plastic bottle. Repurpose it by turning it into an awesome terrarium. Just fill it with sand, pebbles, soil, and your favorite plant. It'll grow sealed right in its own ecosystem. Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
James Brown and Bill Cowher welcoming you back to Dennis Melvin's house. It's time for the Midnight Snack Run.
This is one tricky obstacle course. Sticking to healthy habits in this kitchen is going to take focus and determination, but it can be done, JB.
He's already entered the snack part of the course, and he's eyeballing a jar of chocolatey candy.
That is tempting right off the start.
Uh-oh, he's reaching, Bill, but he pushes it away.
Great stiff arm.
He's approaching a plate of delicious-looking iced cookies.
Oh, Dennis, you only want one of those.
He blows right by him for the apple.
Oh, the fridge. It's make or break time, JB.
He stares down some rich-looking treats. Uh-oh, looks like he's headed for the soda. Wait, he jukes left, grabs the water bottle, and shuts the door with his elbow in record time.
Unbelievable move. I gotta see that again.
And he's out. He even turned off the light.
That's the way you execute a midnight snack run.
Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Think back to the last time you were in nature. What comes to mind? Hiking through a lush forest, floating on a lazy river, or perhaps watching a vibrant sunset on a beach full of glistening plastic bottles and food wrappers. Unfortunately, this isn't a joke. Here in the U.S., we generate the most plastic waste in the world, with 70% of it ending up in landfills. And by the time you're done listening to this ad, more than a dump truck's worth of plastic will have made it into the ocean. Plastic has become a useful part of our everyday lives, but it's polluting the air, water, and soil that all life needs to survive. This is a human problem that can be solved with human action. But it's going to take all of us, from individuals to businesses to governments and everyone in between. Help create a cleaner future for both people and nature. Visit wwf.earth/plastics.
Hey, this is Bobby Newman. Join me every Friday afternoon to dive deep into handicapping the races. We'll cover the live action from some of the biggest tracks in the country, talk to some of the major players in the game, and hopefully make a little money along the way. You can also call the show to share your opinions, ask a question or two, or maybe just vent about some bad beats. It's Betting with Bobby every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern on Sirius 162, XM 207, online channel 999, or streaming live at horseracingradio.net.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
They come to the quarter pole, Kent almost sees the whole and Soul of the Manor, and Soul of the Manor goes on to lead them. Fluid and out in second, Sinners way on the outside, then Fluid Affair, and now Concern is having to be hard ridden, but Concern got 6 lengths to make up. Homeward bound, and Sinners way on the outside takes the lead, and Sinners way looks strong with a 16th of a mile to go in the Pacific Classic. one's out.
Such a cool horse. Tinner's Way, 2 wins back-to-back in the Pacific Classic. That was win number 2 in 1995. Trevor Denman had the call. Bobby Frankel, Eddie Delahousse, the Hall of Famer in the irons, and it was a spectacular performance. Tinner's Way, one of 3 horses to win the Pacific Classic twice, skimming in 2000 and 2001. Richard's Kid, most recently 2009 and 2010. We won't have that opportunity this year, Angela, but it is a fantastic renewal. We've been talking about it throughout the morning.
Well, but speaking of dominant performances, we got to talk about the September issue of the Blood Horse. It is out now, and Sovereignty is back on top after a dominant victory in the Grade 1 Whitney Stakes at Saratoga. He's the cover boy, but also in the September issue is a look at some of the new leadership at Windstar Farm, the Phipps family's preservation of generational bloodlines that yield golden tempo, TOBA state and national awards. A Blood Horse subscription is a must-read for any true racing enthusiast. Visit bloodhorse.com/subscribe to get your print or digital subscription today. For a limited time, receive a free Blood Horse branded tote with your subscription or renewal. The Blood Horse is the premier monthly publication of the thoroughbred industry.
Time now to check in with our Lee Delapina for the answer to this week's Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question. Lee?
Thank you, Mike. Who is the only gray or roan-colored horse to ever win the Pacific Classic? Well, that was Freehouse way back in 1998. Thanks to Mojo Racing Partners for this week's Impossible Trivia question. Get your mojo working at mojoracingpartners.com.
Man, we talked about Tinner's Way. How can you forget Freehouse? Chris McCarron, Paco Gonzalez. That was the Trudy McCaffrey, John Toffin. That was, what a year that was in 98.
I know. What a year to get into racing, too, because you didn't just have the Pacific Classic. I fell in love with the Derby winner, but that Breeders' Cup Classic that year will stand in time as one of the best fields of older horses to ever be assembled. And for the winner to be awesome again among that group really established him as one of the greats of all time. But Freehouse definitely in that class of wonderful horses in that time.
When I think about the Pacific Classic, there are certain horses that immediately jump into my head. Darren Go, certainly one of them. We've been talking about Darren Go and that upset of Cigar back in 96. Best Pal. I was a huge fan of Best Pal, and he won the inaugural running in 1991, but he was I loved Golden Eagle Farm. John Mabey. I love General Challenge when he won it in 1999. I was a huge fan of those Golden Eagle colors, but Best Pal is one that really stands out to me.
Well, and of course, the Pride of California, right? You love those hometown horses that people really follow along with. And what better example of that than Shared Belief a little bit later on down the road? He and Beholder being back-to-back in the Pacific Classic. What a time to be down at Del Mar to see those two, too. You can't pick out one edition that doesn't have some great memories tied to it.
I was really close with the Greeleys, too, and Borrego, trained by Bo Greeley in 2005, another one that stands out. Lava Man for Doug O'Neill. How can you forget him? Just so many wonderful moments, and going to create more later today.
A lot of good horses became great in this race, so we'll see who's next on that list.
Our thanks to all of our guests for making this show possible here this morning, and to all of you for tuning in. Our thanks to Lee Delapina in our Lexington studios, Chauncey for handling all of our social media. Angela, it's been fun.
It's always a great time, and I'll see you next week. Same time, same place.
All right, for Angela Herman, I'm Mike Penna. Thanks for listening to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Check out the podcast if you missed any of it, and go Steelers.